Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if two people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
What do you guys want to talk about?
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
What has being annoying stopped you ever?
That's an excellent point.
Right.
An excellent point. That's part of the charm.
Rich Crage.
And I'm allowed to be a work rate nerd for the G1. I just want them to have great matches and kill themselves. I don't care. It's not my body. I just want to watch great matches.
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening? A lot of audio this last week between you and I. Man.
Yeah, a lot of audio. Did a Tuesday Flagship a couple of days ago. That might be a big surprise to some of the people listening on their podcast feeds. That's because that show isn't on your podcast feed. If you want to hear that special Tuesday edition of the Flagship, you're going to have to subscribe to the Flagship Patreon on the $5 tier, where you will find that Tuesday Flagship and all of the other insane amount of audio that we did over the last week or so. So, 2 flagships in 1 week.
Yeah.
And really, we did a Tuesday show the week before.
We really
well,
did.
So.
Yeah, we called that like a breaking news thing because that was the WWE deal with Netflix, obviously, to move Raw over to Netflix. So that was essentially, in a way, kind of a Tuesday flagship. And then we did, obviously, Wednesday, we talked about the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. That was also on the $5 tier. Not the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, the Voice of Wrestling Match of the Year. Sorry. We have talked about the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame on audio as well. But no, last week we did the Voices of Wrestling Match of the Year ballot reveal and some analysis about the ballot. Then we did the flagship. So that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Audio right there. Obviously, Tuesday and Wednesday, both on the Patreon, Thursday on the free feeds. And this week brought it back yet again with Tuesday show talking about the CM Punk injury, about Kevin Owens' injury, some other stuff around the world of wrestling there on the Tuesday flagship. So we're not going to cover any of that here. So if you're wondering, these guys are going to talk about CM Punk being hurt and all this sort of stuff. No, not going to. We did that on the Tuesday flagship. Almost 2 hours of that. There on the $5 tier. So yeah, in case you're wondering, are they going to talk about this, and this? If there's something that it feels like we completely missed, there's a good chance we covered it on the Tuesday flagship that we did over there at flagshippatreon.com. But yeah, we've been churning stuff out. You've been doing the normal Dynamite reviews. I've been doing the Rumble rewinds. We got some other fun stuff coming your way very, very soon as well. So yeah, a lot of stuff there at flagshippatreon.com.
Yeah. If you want the Royal Rumble review, that is on Instant Reaction Live. You're going to need the $10 tier for that.
Right,
so
that was between this. Right, that was just a couple days ago. Holy shit, right.
So we're not going to do a Rumble review here today. We already reviewed the Rumble. We don't do topics twice. So the Rumble review is on the $10 tier because that was a live show. And then we did a Tuesday flagship where we kind of did the Rumble fallout, talked about the injuries to Punk and Kevin Owens, as Rich noted, went through. I thought we had a great discussion about potential WrestleMania bookings and booking changes that they might have to work their way through because of the injuries to, Punk predominantly, and what's going to happen with the top of the WrestleMania card. I thought that was a really good discussion. And of course, Vince McMahon and the ongoing scandal with Vince, which we're going to open up this show with as well. So we've done a ton of audio on that, both behind the paywall and on these normal non-paywalled flagships. Talked about Okada on the Tuesday flagship, and we reviewed Collision, which went head-to-head with the Royal Rumble and was a significantly better show. I think a lot of people watched Collision on DVR after they watched the Rumble, and they were like, holy shit, the best show on Saturday by far was Collision. Yeah. So Spoiler alert, if you go back and listen to our Rumble review, we didn't love that show.
I did not love that show. No, I don't think anybody.
I don't think many people did, though.
Yeah, I haven't found anybody that really loved that show. You know, I should actually check on we like to always look at where the inmates are over on Cage Match, because sometimes they get a little
mediocre
weird.
Scores.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, not very good for the Rumble. 5.87. So even the Freakazoids are kind of like,
That wasn't a good show. I mean, it just, it wasn't one of those shows that just doesn't appeal to us because we're not like big fans of the company. It just wasn't a very good show. I think that on Cage Match, if I recall, I thought they overrated the Women's Rumble a little bit because I thought other than the final 5, it was a very boring and poorly worked Royal Rumble.
They have that at 7.39 right now. That's way higher.
That's way too high. Yeah. That was maybe in totality a 2.5 star match. If you want to bump it up a little because of the final 5 and go like 2 3/4 or something, I could live with that. But other than that, even Cage Match didn't love the show. The Men's Rumble, the last time I checked, was somewhere in the 5s. The 4-way for the title, which we thought, I thought that was a 1-star match. I thought, and we're not going to look. You want to hear the review? Go ahead. We're not going to do it again. But I thought it was just one of these, Roman Reigns title matches. They're not great, and Cage Match didn't love it either, but they liked it a little more than I did. And then, I thought the best match on the show was Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens. So I don't remember what Cage Match gave.
They have it at 6.46 right now, which I probably have it a little higher than that, but I get it. The finish did stink, and the finish did take a lot of steam out of it. So I can't.
Well, they've got it at about 3 1/4, which is actually what I gave it.
Yeah, what? Honestly, that's probably exactly where it should be.
Yeah, I thought that was about a 3 1/4 star match myself. I think that's the rating I gave it on the audio, and I personally thought it was the best match on the show because, like I said, that Women's Rumble I thought stunk. I thought it just stunk the place up and was dreadfully boring until the final 5. But anyway, our detailed Royal Rumble review can be found on the $10 tier, and then the Tuesday flagship special that we did was not a live show, so that's on the $5 tier if you want to listen to that. Plus all of the other breaking news audio that we did over the course of the week. We did so much audio, I don't even remember.
I forgot about the Royal Rumble until you mentioned it. I was like, all right.
You whiffed on the Rumble review.
Right. The Royal Rumble also happened. We forgot to talk. We talked about that just a couple of days ago as well.
Yeah. So we had, so let's go and start with last week's flagship. From there, we had the instant reaction live to the Royal Rumble. I have a written piece on the wrestling media before the Royal Rumble. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that today, especially with the Shawn Michaels press conference that just happened. Then we had, obviously, the Tuesday flagship that I noted. You had at least 2 more you had a Brett versus Owen and a Rumble Rewind.
Right. Yeah.
And a Rumble Rewind. There's a match in a week. There's the, wasn't there a breaking news audio too that we did? I thought for sure there was. There's Thursday Dynamite review. What did we do breaking? Oh, that was last Tuesday.
That was last Tuesday.
Audio. Yeah. So Matt, geez. Yeah. So last 2 weeks, there's just, more content than ever behind that paywall. And by the way, I don't like to do this all the time, but once again, in January, we set all records for subscriptions again. So, I want to thank everybody for that. An incredible month of January, powered by Wrestle Kingdom, Royal Rumble, Okada leaving New Japan, this Vince McMahon scandal. So it was a heavy news month, and we pumped out the content, and you guys responded, and this was our all-time record month, which every couple months we pop in here and say that because it just keeps growing. So, it's sometimes it's a little surreal, but the support's incredible, and we thank everybody for that. And my goal is to be number 1 in analysis, and one day we will be, probably very soon. So I want to thank everybody for that as we get all the plugs out of the way at the start of the show. Shit ton of content behind the paywall. It's utterly ridiculous. But
stupid. Too much work.
Yeah, I thought that Tuesday flagship, I really thought that was a great show. I know when we have a stinker. I know when I stink personally, and I feel like I know when a show is really great. And when that one was over, actually about halfway through that Tuesday flagship, I was thinking to myself, man, I wish this one was free because I think this is a really great show. So I think we really just did a really great show on Tuesday, which means this one, which will go out to thousands upon thousands of more people, will probably suck. This show will probably stink real bad. But I thought the Tuesday show was fantastic. And actually, a lot of the feedback mirrored that. People really enjoyed that show. So, and, we did a lot of WWE talk on that show, which we don't typically do unless they're in trouble for something like we're going to open with today. So that was something a little different, as we are certainly out of the, I don't know if you want to call ourselves a major podcast. I think we could call ourselves.
Yeah,
a major podcast.
We're there.
Of the major podcasts, we probably have by far the smallest percentage of WWE talk. I mean, I think that's
clearly
that's probably certain. So, when we're able to, do a WWE heavy show, that's something a little different for people with breaking down the possible Rumble matches and whatnot. But anyway, that's the Tuesday show. If people want to listen to that, you'll certainly get your money's worth. Hopefully, if you plop down the $5 for that, because there's a shit ton of new content back there and more coming.
All right. Before we actually get into the meat of the show, though, one more plug that I have to give, not for something that we did, but something that is on the Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network that I think deserves a spotlight. Open the Voice Gate this week did a rewind and rewatch of King of Dragon from January 31st, 1999, which is the very first show for Toryumon Japan, basically the forefather of Dragon Gate. So it's 25 years of Dragon Gate. Now, obviously, those guys have done an incredible job covering Dragon Gate, better than anybody else. Mike and Case, one of the best writers about Dragon Gate, the best writer about Dragon Gate. I don't even think it's a competition. Clearly, the best writing about Dragon Gate, reviewing Dragon Gate, previewing it, doing all that sort of stuff. And those two guys know more about Dragon Gate than pretty much anybody but Jay. I think Dragon Gate Jay is probably the only guy on Earth, I think, that knows more about Dragon Gate. But just want to mention that because, we've talked about Dragon Gate a lot on this show in the history of the show. We've done a lot less of it over the recent years, as you and I both have kind of fallen out of favor with the company, and it's not quite working for us like it worked for us, a decade ago or so, when it was a major part of these shows. I mean, we would cover every single major Dragon Gate show in extensive detail, but those guys I thought did a great job this week with the rewind and rewatch of King of Dragon, which again marked 25 years essentially of the Dragon system, or 25 years of Dragon Gate if you want. So they go back into history, talk about that show, which is available to watch on the Dragon Gate Network as well. It's not very hard to find, but do a lot of good history lessons as well, and just kind of talk about how important Dragon Gate was to the wrestling world. And I just want to do a little shout out for them because this is it's a big accomplishment for them, and a big thing for that 25 years passing for Dragon Gate and the Dragon system. So just want to mention that. Open the Voice Gates. You can subscribe to them on your podcast app of choice, or just listen to the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network, and you'll find them there as well. All right.
Yeah, I saw a few days ago was the Gate of Bayside, and I'm like, what is AC Slater on the show? What's going on here? Gate of Bayside?
Trying some new stuff out. Gate of Bayside, yeah.
Waiting for Belding to come out with Screech.
I haven't watched that show. So I don't know if all that stuff, but I'm going to assume yes. The Gate of Bayside was indeed just.
Well, I could assure you, Screech ain't coming out. He's dead.
He's not. Dustin Diamond.
Yeah, no Dustin Diamond. No Dustin Diamond.
No Dustin Diamond. But everybody else, who knows? Everybody else.
Well, Mark Paul Gosling or Mark Paul whatever the hell his name is. I don't think he's coming either. He's locked in a basement, right? Because he does that show on ABC with the girl from Shameless, and she's got him locked up in the basement.
Oh, no shit! No, I haven't watched any of that.
What the hell's his name? Mark Paul Gosselaar?
Paul Gosselaar or whatever. I forget. I never knew how to pronounce it, so I just called him Zach Morris, as I'm sure most people just said, him, Zach Morris. So
the hell, I got what the hell? Oh, Found is the name of the show.
Found,
so
okay.
It's with.
Is it good?
Well, I don't know, because it's a network show, so I hesitate. Because I'm a snob.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. Yeah, if it's like an NBC or CBS show, you gotta be very careful.
Yeah, so Shanola Hampton's the star. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's great. She was in Shameless, and that's probably what she's best known for.
Yeah,
She's a detective who looks for missing people. I believe so. She kidnaps the Mark Paul Gosselaar character, who is a kidnapper. And she locks him up in the basement, and then it's kind of like has a the vibe I pick up from is like Silence of the Lambs, where she's trying to get information from someone who commits the crimes that she's investigating. See what I'm saying?
I got you.
So
yeah.
All
right.
It looks
I'm listening. This sounds good. This sounds like it could be good.
See, that's the thing. But the problem is, I think it's an NBC show. And it's like,
Yeah.
It's network shows are a barrier for me because it's you know how network shows
they're mostly
are.
bad. Yeah, they're mostly
formulaic in some way, and but the premise is interesting, and he's down there with his fucking somehow, even though he's locked in a basement, his neatly shaved beard, and because it's a network show, so
right? It's too bright. It's always somehow too bright. Yeah.
Somehow he's still well fed and is allowed to trim his beard, but yeah. Anyway, that's listen, a free ad for Found on NBC.
Found, I don't know. Well, we don't have any other ads, so we might as well try that. I'll send it to NBC and see if they'll send us some money because I don't know. I guess we're not going to get the big game ad this year. Yeah, we're not going to get the big game ad this year. I'm pretty pissed. Yeah, we usually get the big game ad. So I guess next week, the big one. We might get one for the big one next week, but not looking good, folks. Not looking good.
Podcast ads exist anymore. Are those even a thing? They aren't around here.
Not around this part. News to me. I think we just passed the 1 year threshold of our last ad here. We did.
Now that all of our listeners are on Magic Mind, they're all
right. They're good to go. They're good to go. So, yeah. And they're all billionaires from all the bets they made on MyBookie. So.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if you followed our WWE betting advice on MyBookie, you probably could be a millionaire. So much so that Joe got restricted from the gambling on the.
On MyBookie?
Yeah.
For the wrestling, it's weird. Like sometimes they don't give me a limit, and sometimes it's like your maximum is $10, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to bet this minus 2,800 favorite for $10 and make 28 cents or whatever the fuck. But okay, I don't know. It's like they forget sometimes that I'm restricted, and sometimes they don't. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm still milking that account because I made a shit ton of money on John Moxley over Satoshi Kojima a couple years ago because they let me bet whatever I wanted on it, and I bet a lot. Right?
You had a pretty good idea who was winning that one.
yeah. So
it was not the strongest arm. It was not the strongest arm on that night. It just was not his night.
The only thing that would have beat me is Moxley, catching an injury and beating himself like he did versus Phoenix. That's always a possibility.
Right. Yeah. He tells the referee, I count him, and he's got a lot of respect for Satoshi Kojima, so of course he would allow Kojima to pin him for the 1-2-3 if it made sense. But
or the one time Tony Khan gets slick and decides to do a 2-match program and have the guy beat him on the pay-per-view and then come back and do it on Dynamite. So I still sweat. I'll be honest, I was still sweating it out
until that 1-2-3. Yeah, until that 1-2-3. Yeah.
Well, if you would have saw the number I had on it, you'd be sweating it out too. It was it was a number that would have made anything stressful, So what do we got on this fucking show? We're starting with Vince again. So
Let me run down what we have before the Vince stuff, but it's gotten a lot dicier over the last couple of days as well, so that's going to be interesting. But we're going to do pro wrestling contract season updates. We're continuing to do that throughout the rest of the year. Going to slow down here a little bit, and the last couple of weeks have been very, very slow. A few more things here and there that you have as far as pro wrestling contract season, so we'll talk about that. If we get time, I want to check in on WrestleMania weekend, Joe, because Michael Cole has told me we are on the road to WrestleMania. So WrestleMania weekend is quickly approaching, and it's not good. It is not good. You, in the last couple of years, have disowned WrestleMania weekend. I'm about to join you on disowning WrestleMania weekend. It is not good at all in Philadelphia, so we'll talk about that. AEW Dynamite, they got a big show next week. We'll talk about the lineup they have, as well as speculate about Tony Khan's major announcement. AEW rankings are back, and that means the horrible opinions about them are back as well. So we will have good opinions about the AEW rankings while also bad-mouthing all the bad opinions. And trust me, there are plenty to go through. AEW rankings back, and if time permits, we're going to do All Japan Pro Wrestling. They had a show January 27th with Sharo Ashino and Nakajima in the main event. We get to that. Hopefully we can talk about it, as well as some indie matches that I saw across the world. I saw a match from France. I saw a match from Uganda. I saw a match from all the way in St. Louis, as well as a couple other matches here and there that I want to talk about if we get time. So we'll see how time goes on this particular show. But we do have to start.
Said France, Uganda, and all the way in St. Louis.
Yes.
You can drive to St. Louis before this show is over from where you live, but that's all the way to
That's
St.
all the
Louis
way. Yeah, I was all over the world. Uganda, France.
Yeah.
St. Louis, all the places across the world, all the lands across the world. Yeah, England. I forgot to watch a match from England as well. So yeah, England, Uganda, France, and then of course St. Louis, Missouri. So everywhere across the world.
You think you ever hear? I think it's a George Carlin bit. Maybe it's not George Carlin, it's somebody, but he has this bit about. You ever think to yourself that you're the only person in the history of the world to say certain sentences? And then I think what he says is, I think I'm going to stick this hot poker up my ass. No one, he's like, no one has ever said that sentence before until I did just now. Do you think you're the only person in history ever to do what you did today? Watch a wrestling match that took place in England, France, Uganda, and St. Louis, Missouri, all on the same day. Has anyone else ever done that?
I gotta imagine I'm the only person on Earth today. Yeah, I gotta imagine I'm the only person who's ever gone through that gauntlet of pro wrestling locations. It's got to be. There can't be anybody else.
No one else. I don't think ever in history anyone else has ever done that. Watched 4 matches from those 4 specific locations in history. Have you ever stuck a hot poker up your ass?
Never stuck a hot poker up my ass though either. So I'm not kink shaming, of course. Just not for me. Not for me.
Right. Once again, I gave you an impossible transition into the Vince story. So probably reset that again somehow. Right. Because that's
God damn it.
Now the Uganda match, when we talk about that, because I did watch the match from Uganda.
Okay, that was 9 minutes, so I figured you'd have a chance to watch that one.
Those kids, oh my God. I would describe it as very, very high level backyard wrestling. Is that fair?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In terms of just execution of moves that they've seen on the internet or TV or wherever the fuck they're watching, man, they make it look easy.
They do. They've been watching their Memphis tapes too, man. Easy. Those strikes, those are some good strikes.
Those were kind of,
little snug.
Potatoes are always easy, but the execution of these moves. I mean, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Boss Jordan and
I gave you the buffer that you needed.
Kepkika, I believe. Kepkika. I don't know how to pronounce. Boss Jordan.
Kepkika versus Kepkika, I believe. Boss Jordan.
Yeah. I believe it's Jordan? Yeah. There's the two guys.
We'll get this. So there's your buffer. You don't have to go for hot pokers. I did it again. I just did it again. I talked about the hot pokers up your ass. I never learned, Rich. I never learned.
So what do we do here?
Developments in the Vince McMahon scandal.
Right, yes. We'll start out first with an interview with News Nation and Callis, who is Janel Grant's lawyer. She talked about, of course, if you are just joining us or you've been living under a rock, Janel Grant is, of course, the person that is suing Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, as well as WWE, about the, go back and listen to the last show and the last couple shows if you need a little bit of buffer and background about that. But Janel Grant, her lawyer, and Callis was on News Nation and said that WWE has a culture of corruption and that Grant is not the only person who wants to speak out. Quote, "It's been a long process, and Grant wants to speak out for any other victims and eradicate this culture of corruption that has permeated every cell of the WWE. My office and my inbox have been a barrage of people wanting to come forward to attest about this culture of corruption and also possible victims. We are just beginning now to wade through all of this, but frankly, we are overwhelmed. Grant wants justice because she wants to change the culture that is going on in WWE. She wants to help other victims. She thinks by speaking out and coming forward first that others will feel emboldened and encouraged to come forth." It's a big statement right there.
I mean, it is. A culture of corruption is going to become, Vince loves his catchphrases, right? So that's going to be what they're going to pound. And look, this is what we talked about on one of the audio shows we did. Who can keep track of them all at this point? That this was probably going to be the tip of the iceberg, and we opined that there probably would be more victims of Vince McMahon who would now feel emboldened to come out, or safe, or brave, or whatever term would apply to each individual circumstance, to come out and tell their story. So this is not a surprise to me. I do think he'll probably settle the case, and we talked about that, but we'll have to see if there's some criminal charges. I mean, he did get raided by the FBI, correct?
Correct.
I think the FBI raided.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows if they took his electronic devices, his cell phones, who knows? And who knows what they were looking for? Could have had something to do with this or something else, but you would think it would have to do with this, since with the human trafficking aspect of it, right? Crossing state lines and everything else, that would become a federal crime. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but that's usually that's how kidnapping generally works if you cross a state line or so. Yeah, I mean, this isn't surprising at all, but I think the surprising piece of news today was the following. You want to do it or should I do it?
Yeah, let me talk about it here. So John Laurinaitis, who is a co-defendant in the lawsuit against Vince McMahon, so he is named in there as well as being a big part of all this. It's Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. Dropped a bit of a hammer today. Laurinaitis' attorney, Edward Brennan, reached out to Vice News to say the following, quote, Mr. Laurinaitis denies the allegations in the misguided complaint and will be vigorously defending these charges in court, not the media. Like the plaintiff, Mr. Laurinaitis is a victim in this case, not a predator. The truth will come out. Read the allegations, read the federal statute, power, control, employment, supervisory capacity, dictatorial sexual demands with repercussions if not met. Count how many times in the complaint Vince exerts control over both of them.
So this is the bombshell today. This is how Laurinaitis is choosing to fight back. And I mean, here's the thing. Who knows? I mean, you would think that, especially if this goes to criminal court, that, there'll be more text messages or electronic emails, whatever the case. I'm very curious to see what the conversations look like between McMahon and Laurinaitis, or McMahon and the physical therapist, or McMahon and whoever else was involved in this, because it's possible that this is John Laurinaitis attempting to both save public face and also save himself,
of course.
But it's also possible that he's telling the truth. I mean, and that he also felt coerced by McMahon to participate in this. I think it's clear from the text messages in the lawsuit and some of the allegations that Vince has certain fetishes, and to satisfy those fetishes, he needed other participants, and if he couldn't find willing participants, he certainly, fisted the knowing what we know about Vince, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he coerced other people who worked for him into participating in this. I don't find that impossible to believe. Do you?
Oh God, no.
I don't.
Oh God, no.
So, now again, Laurinaitis could just be trying to save his own ass.
Right. And I think that's one important thing about this whole situation is that I don't think that John Laurinaitis is a hero in this case, or I don't think that he's fully in the right. I believe that he probably has done or did probably some pretty not great things, and I'm sure some of that stuff will come out in the wash or whatever. But I think what's important about this is the fact that he, by sort of turning on Vince and saying, look, I was a victim as well, whether or not he is truly innocent in this or not, right now we'll figure that out later. But what I think the best chance that we have now of this actually getting resolved and real justice being served about this, and real issues being, a light shined on him, this is how you do it, is guys turning on him and saying, you know what, I don't really give a shit about this guy anymore. I don't need to save face so that I can have a job with him later down the line. I don't need to do that. People saying, you know what, no. It's a big thing for Johnny Ace to do this. And I don't want him to come across as like a hero or anything like that, because we have no idea what he was involved in or what whatever. But like, this is a very big step. For somebody that's a fan of justice and wants justice in this case, and wants Vince McMahon to rot in hell for what he's done, and this whole corporation to a light to be shined on it, and a spotlight to be given on this culture of corruption and all this sort of stuff. This is the biggest move in all of it. More so, even more, I think the Janel Grant stuff obviously throws the whole thing for a loop and now puts an entire giant spotlight on it. But Johnny Ace being the first guy, or John Laurinaitis being the first guy to then turn it around, that is not taking Vince's side, a guy who's in that culture, who's worked with Vince, who was an underling, who was an executive, who was named in the lawsuit, saying, you know what, no, hold on, I was a victim as well, and turning it gives me a lot of hope for what this trial is, and the lawsuit could result in.
And you should have, because here's the thing. This is bad for Vince. Because whether Laurinaitis is telling the truth or not, whether he was truly a victim or not, what it does is this backs up everything Grant has said.
Right. They're not
There's
just baseless accusations anymore. Here's a guy saying, yes,
right.
This happened.
Because there's a second person confirming that these things happened, because he is also saying he's a victim. By him claiming that he was also a victim of McMahon and all of this, he is basically, he's co-signing her allegations. He's saying that these things happened. So this goes from a he said, she said, and then, we'll figure it out in court when we untangle the evidence, to now here's someone else saying, yeah, these things did happen, and I was a victim of this as well. This is hard. This was a terrible day for Vince from that standpoint. And, on top of the fact that Grant's lawyer, what was her name again? Grant's lawyer?
Ann Callis.
So on top of the fact that this Ann Callis, for her to come out and say that there's going to be more, that means that there will be. So this is almost the worst. This is a worse day for Vince than the day the original allegations came out, because now there's more teeth to this, and we know that there's more coming. So
sorry if you had trouble hearing Joe there. I don't know, Joe. Can you?
I still think ultimately he finds a way to settle, because that's what typically happens with these sorts of things.
Give us 1 second here. Joe, can you hear me? I think we're having some connection issues with Joe there. We'll try to get him. I
can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we were having some connection issues there, but I think we're back. I did not hear after I told you Ann Callis' name. I really didn't hear anything after you said that. So you might want to repeat that, because the listeners would not hear that as well. And see, just like Joe said. Just like Joe said. There we go. Hello.
Yeah, I bounced out and bounced back in. Can you hear me now?
Now you sound good. You sound good. You sound clear. So hopefully that's the end of our issues.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, I heard what you said, where after you said Ann Callis' name. Yeah, I said basically what I was saying was, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, anyone who wasn't able to hear me. If when with Callis saying that there's more allegations coming, she wouldn't say that if she didn't know that was true. So, this is just a terrible day compounded for Vince, because you have Laurinaitis basically co-signing the allegations by saying that he was a victim, which lends some more credibility to the allegations. And now you have the lawyer saying that there's more people that are ready to come out and speak. So this is just a bad day all around. Ultimately, I still think Vince will find a way to settle, because that's generally how these types of things go, because they would prefer these things don't go to trial and all the messy details come out. But that doesn't mean even if he does settle, that's not going to be the end of this. As we discussed on our last audio, this is the tip of the iceberg. We're going to hear about this case and this scandal for years to come.
One thing I will say regarding the quote that Ann Callis mentioned, with the last part, I thought Grant wants justice because she wants change. She wants to change the culture that is going on in the WWE. She wants to help other victims. She thinks by speaking out and coming forward first, that others will feel emboldened and encouraged to come forth. Now, that's a line that if you just go and take a big giant settlement, I'm not putting, I like, if that's what the end game is, like, I'm not saying, I'm just sort of, spitballing here. If the end game is, we just want to make that settlement even bigger by putting their feet to the fire, and hopefully they give us, X amount of millions, and that's fine. Then Janel's good, and we're good, and we're all good, and we go away. That last line is going to ring very hollow there. She wants justice. She wants to change the culture, all that sort of stuff. I feel like if you're going to say that, that kind of feels like you're in the fight here, and you want this to keep going on, and you want this to be something that really, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit more optimistic than other people, but those quotes from her, from Ann Callis, made me think that these are people that are in for the long haul. These are people that want to be, that really want to fight this fight and want to fight the good fight and want that justice and want to eradicate the culture of corruption, that sort of stuff. I feel like that's going to just look real shitty if they just take the first settlement, or a big giant settlement and go away and go, okay, we're all good now, bye. And that, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to really, I think we're on the precipice of something pretty huge here, and that would be tremendously disappointing for them to say all this sort of stuff and then just take a settlement and go away.
Yeah, but Rich, they say these things to coerce you into paying them and
Right.
settling.
Right. No, I know. And I guess that's where I want to be positive about this. I want to be positive and think that they realize they got something going on here. And maybe maybe there is a little bit of a, I know that this Ann Callis, I was trying to do some research on her, and I know nothing about her. I've never, obviously met her in real life, but she's done, from as far as I could tell, I think this is the same Ann Callis who I believe was, let me make sure this is what. So she was a judge for a lot of years. I mean, I don't know enough about her to really know exactly about her life and all that sort of stuff. But I do wonder if maybe she's seeing the flood of other stuff coming in and is thinking, man, maybe we have something here. Maybe we can really do something, important here, and really do something that is going to help a lot of people and really uncover one of these things. Like, this is a big, big moment. This is a watershed moment, in the history of corporate America. And we could really do something here, or we could just take the best offer that we get and go there. I don't know. I would hope that they're at least encouraged by the amount, or what she says, the flood of people coming in and also saying, hey, I'm a victim, or I've been a victim, or all this sort of stuff. That then would really open the floodgates. But I don't know. That the positive part of me and the optimist in me is hoping that they are, excited about this and saying, okay, now we can really do something big here. And then you got Laurinaitis. I mean, this day felt to me like, okay, between this and the Laurinaitis news, we're moving in the right direction here, but I don't know. They could all go awry, and then they take a big settlement, and then everybody just shuts up again.
I think this is us so unlike you because you're being so wildly optimistic.
I know. I'm just going to get disappointed, aren't I?
And that's typically not you. You're always worst case scenario guy. Here's one thing I don't think we've talked about. If I'm not mistaken, based on what I read in the lawsuit, she was introduced to McMahon by like the doorman in their building or something like that.
Yeah.
If she lived in the same building as him, isn't she rich? How could they live in the same building if they're not?
That I don't understand, because they said that she had financial issues due to her parents being in, I guess they were older parents. And I wonder if she had money, but then her parents were in hospice or had some issues there, and that was, or not, but like we're in retirement homes or something like that. That I was unclear about, of how they lived in the same building exactly. I don't know that.
So were her maybe her parents or had money, or she had money, and she was financially drained by taking care of the parents.
I think that's what. Yeah, that as far as what I read in, I thought that's what they said, but I don't know if that's.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was one thing that one aspect of it that I don't think we discussed, because there's so many aspects to this, and there's always points I forget to bring up, even though we've done 19 hours of audio on this at this point. But that struck me as a bit odd, and something that no one has spoken about. How in need could she have been if she lived in the same building as him? But I guess you can, Vince is wealthy, and you could be
well, actually, you know what I do think I remember reading in there, again, it's all a blur. I believe also there's the aspect that Vince had kind of the penthouse suite in this particular complex, and maybe there's other apartments in that complex as well. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that they were in the same style of apartments. He had an entire floor, and she maybe had one of, a corner unit that was 500 square feet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I know there was some aspect of the parents being involved as well, but it may have just simply been that Vince had the penthouse and she just had a normal apartment, and they just happened to be in the same building.
Yeah, the money moves fast when you're taking care of two elderly people who are.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in my family. Yeah. That somebody goes into a nursing home and you don't have that properly. You don't hide money well enough. You don't hide assets well enough. Bam, those things are gone quick. I saw it happen to my grandmother. Her house was swooped up in an instant because they didn't hide that. They didn't put it in different people's names. And the second one of those bills came in for that nursing home, they said, "Oh, the house is ours now. Bye bye," and they took the house and took everything very quickly. It's awful. It's terrible.
Yeah. So, we've done a ton of audio on this, and we've kind of hit off on pretty much every other angle of it. So that's the new stuff that broke since the last time we did audio. But Shawn Michaels did his NXT Vengeance press conference today, and he got pounded pretty hard with questions.
Yeah, I think he thought he was going to spend the whole time putting over Trick Williams and talking about Dijak and the family, and no, that's they hit him real hard.
I don't know if he thought. I'm sure he was expecting some questions. I mean, they have. Look, here's the thing. I think, we made our feelings known on the Rumble Instant Reaction Live, what we thought of that presser with Levesque. With only the 3 decent questions and whatnot. But I feel like we're at least starting to see some progress with these sorts of things. I think that the pressure that's been put on the wrestling media to start asking better questions has started to take hold a bit. In fact, I think tonight, right before we went on air, I think that it might be Fightful that's hosting some kind of roundtable with Brandon Thurston and John Alba and a couple other reporters talking about the role of wrestling media and those sorts of things. So we're seeing some progress in this regard, even though a lot of it is still really awful. And all of these content creators who, in my view, do not belong in the room at all. I know there's some people who disagree with that. I don't think these quote unquote content creators even belong in the room. But if they're going to be in the room, I think when there's a huge, important story like this, these content creators have to know how to read the room, sit down, shut up, and sit those out. I do believe that. If we're going to have to accept that these people are going to be in the room and creating, to create their vapid content or whatever, they should at least, because I think what we saw at the Rumble presser, outside of those 3 good questions, with the rest of the questions that were asked, not only did I feel like they were the wrong questions for the wrong time, and I won't go as far as to say it was reprehensible that those questions were asked. I think these people are just ignorant. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just think they have no feel or they an inability to read the room and know that this isn't the time or place to ask Paul Levesque if this is a great new era or if this is the greatest roster. It's not the time or place. And these people just don't have a feel for that. So I feel like if they're going to be in the room and they're going to have a place at the table, then they have to understand that times like this, when it's the biggest scandal in the history of wrestling, you need to sit down. It's not the time for your vapid questions. And I don't apologize for saying that. And, Brandon Thurston said it far more politely than I did in a great tweet that he had the other day. I don't know if you saw it.
I did. Let me see if I can actually grab it, because I think it was good, and I do want more people to read it.
He said what I just said in a more polite way. Like, look, I understand that you guys, everyone wants to create their own kind of content, but in situations like this, maybe you should sit this one out. And I firmly agree with that. And then John Alba put out a tweet later in the day saying that it's unfortunate that the questions that the media asks becomes the story. And while I do agree with him that is unfortunate and the questions that reporters ask shouldn't be the story, well, John, the reason that is the story is because wrestling media has been asking bad questions for years upon years to people like Paul Levesque. It wouldn't be a story if we can get our shit together in that room. And if these content creators could have a little feel for time, place, and situation and sit the fuck down when it's something that's above their heads and real information and real questions need to be asked. Because, quite frankly, I thought the 4 or 5 people who didn't ask a question related to this scandal at that Rumble presser, I won't go as far as to say it was reprehensible. I will say that those people were incredibly selfish. They were ignorant and they were selfish. And I know that some people have come out to defend those people. Okay, that's fine. You could defend them if you want. I'm not backing down. They were ignorant and they were selfish to take up the oxygen in that room and not allow Levesque to be asked more questions.
There's one line of Brandon's thing that I think wraps up, because it's a pretty long tweet, so I don't want to read all of it. But one line, I think,
read the whole thing.
Yeah, one line wraps it up pretty perfectly. Quote: "Having access carries a responsibility that sometimes matters less, but last night mattered a lot, and half the questions of Levesque were about really trivial subjects."
Correct. And here's the thing: there were, by my count, and there may have been more, but by my count, there were 4 soft PR events that weekend where these content creators had all the time in the world and where it was appropriate to go get their vapid content. There were 4 separate PR events. There was the Boys and Girls Club event. There was, I believe, a 2K event. There was a WWE just straight PR event, like a red carpet deal.
Yeah, I forget what they called it. It was a press junket, or I forget what they exactly called it, but yeah, or media junket. It was something, but yeah, it was essentially a red carpet, and people were there.
There were 4 such events where if you want to go there with your little GoPro and interview your favorite superstars and get mark picks and ask your vapid questions and put it up on your little YouTube and play reporter for the weekend, okay? There was plenty of opportunity to do that, which is why I think it was incredibly selfish to waste everybody's time with those types of questions for Levesque. I don't even mind them for Bailey and Cody. That I don't even mind it then. Because here's something else where people might disagree. I don't know necessarily if it's right to grill the talent on this stuff at this point. I don't know how I feel. I'm not interested in that. I don't care what Bailey thinks. And that's no slight on Bailey. I don't care about Levesque on that night. Okay? And I found it selfish and ignorant that those people wasted questions on that shit when they had 4 other events to do that. 4 other events where they can do whatever they want. They can interview all their favorite superstars and get all their little interviews lined up on their little YouTubes. You have to be able to read the room. And you have to know when to sit down and shut up. And let the serious people do the job. This is the biggest scandal in wrestling history. If you are not a serious person, and deep down you know whether you're a serious person or not, okay? And I'm trying to be as polite as possible here, then you should have enough sense to not ask for the mic in that situation. So that's where I stand on it. And I can't ever see myself changing my opinion on that. We got to live with these people in the room. And I guess if it's just a common presser for a common event where there's not the biggest scandal in wrestling history, you just got to roll your eyes at their bad questions and live with it. Okay? But in that situation, what a horrible, just disgusting display of an inability to read the room and not get the fuck out of the way. That's how I feel about every single one of them.
I was definitely encouraged by the Michaels call today, because it did feel like more people were asking, and possibly it was the fact that there was a lot of fallout from the Royal Rumble press conference, so maybe people are feeling that heat. Maybe it's the fact that you're doing a call and not there live, or not there in person. That probably takes on a little bit of a different connotation. But regardless, I think they, most of the reporters in there, I think, did a pretty good job of pressing Michaels about it. They, I think Nick Hausman asked him about past allegations that Brutus Beefcake made about him and Marty Jannetty, and Michaels then, denied that and said that, Beefcake himself walked back those comments in the past. Michaels, talked about that he made mistakes in the past, but everything he did, was consensual or whatever. So he was getting into it, you know what I mean? And then people asked him about, the safety and the environment at the Performance Center. He said that they have an open environment, that they have a welcome communication, that it's a safe environment for everybody, that my daughter visits every single week, all that sort of stuff. Said that everybody in that locker room is aware of the McMahon lawsuit. Well, better tell your buddy Paul, because he apparently wasn't as much aware of it. Hopefully he is now. And that, yeah, he takes, his role is working with young talent very seriously in all aspects of the business, wants to tell them the truth, like that sort of stuff. He also asked that they specifically updated a bunch of policies in 2022 to help make it a safer environment. When someone said which one of those policies, or what specifically about those policies, one of the things that we talked about on the Rumble call, that Cameron Hawkins said, what are you doing to ensure safety of talent and the roster? And Paul said everything. We were doing everything. And then nobody said, well, name one thing. Can you tell us? Can you give us one example?
Here's why. Because
they don't have follow-ups. They can't do follow-ups.
Because the 3 people who ask good questions get one crack at it, and the people who followed up didn't have the sense to follow up with, you're doing everything, How about telling us something specific?
Right. Whatever dumb question you had in mind, scrap that and say, well, hold on a minute. We got something pretty good here. That's journalism 101. And that's how you can tell a lot of these people did not come up in journalism, because if you do, and if you've ever been to a real press conference, you have a rough idea. You go in with a rough idea of what you're going to ask every person. You go to a post game. I had it several times where I had, 4 or 5 questions I was ready to ask. But if you get a juicy answer or some line of questioning that's starting to put you in a different direction, you scratch all those dumb things out about, hey, how important was the running game today? Fuck that. We don't care about that anymore. You got a new thing to worry about. And if you were going to say, hey, Paul, is this the best roster you've ever had? Great, but scratch that one, because this guy just said that they're doing everything to ensure the safety of talent. Well, give Cameron Hawkins. Yeah, give Cameron Hawkins follow him up and say, all right, good question, man. What are you doing? To follow up to Cameron's question, what are you doing specifically to ensure? That's what a real room would do. That's what a real room would do.
That's right. You're saying you're doing everything in your power. Tell us what. The next question should have been, tell us what.
Yeah.
Give us specifics.
What specifically are you guys doing to foster a more
tangible things?
Right.
And someone asked Shawn Michaels something that today, the same question, how are you keeping people safe? And Michaels gave the same non-specific answer.
Right. We're doing everything. We updated our policies. And then someone said, what'd you do specifically? And he went, I don't have the paper in front of me. I just know that we have a safe environment. And it's like, hold on a minute.
So here's the thing. I'm going to put more pressure, because I have to say something here. I think a lot of this controversy over how bad wrestling media is in these spots, quite honestly, I think we have to take some credit for this. We've been putting pressure on this long before anyone else has been putting pressure on this, because you and I have been aghast at the performance of these people with both the AEW pressers and now the WWE pressers that they've been doing since AEW's been doing them. I mean, we've been blown away by how bad some of these are, and we're loud about it, and we're vocal. And I think we're largely responsible for kicking up this dust. I'm just going to be honest about it. So I'm going to take it a step further now. I don't want to hear another question posed to either of these guys or anybody in that company about, what are you doing to keep women safe in your company? We've asked that already, and we've gotten non-specific
Let's get the specifics.
Don't ask that. Don't ask that question again. Because if you ask that question again, I think you're trying to get off easy by claiming you're asking a real question, okay? But you're asking something where we already know we're not getting the next question you need to ask is, hey, Paul, the last time you were asked this, you said you're doing everything in your power. Hey, Shawn, the last time you said you're doing everything you can. Can you give us some specifics on how you're protecting women in your company? Can you give us some specifics on how you can ensure that the culture is changing in your company in the post-Vince McMahon era? Specifically, when you say you're doing everything, what are you doing? That needs to be the next question you ask. I don't want to hear that same question again. We've heard it twice, and they haven't been specific either time. So now you got to keep pressing them harder. Or I'm going to come on here and bury you. Because that question obviously is not being answered sufficiently. We're not getting answers. We've learned nothing of what they're doing to ensure that this can't happen again in their company. Have we learned a thing, Rich?
We have learned nothing.
We haven't learned anything.
I guess we learned that they changed some of the policies in 2022. We don't know which policies they changed, what got changed, what was in there before, what got added, what got moved, what got removed, what got, no, we know none of that. We just know that from Shawn Michaels' quote that they did change some policies in 2022, but we don't know what policies. We don't know anything about it.
So that's great that we asked it initially, and that's great that you can go on Twitter and get backpats for caring about the women, but now we need to up the ante and ask follow-ups to these questions. And because we're lucky enough to get a crack at these people.
Yeah.
They don't have to do these pressers.
They probably shouldn't be doing them right now also.
And they may stop doing them.
Right.
But this is what we've been saying all along. We've had unprecedented access to these people, and we've been blowing it. And quite honestly, I'm going to keep my foot on the pedal. And any opportunities that we have, we're going to take advantage of. Because you have to. You can't let them off the hook. And I thought Michaels acquitted himself very well today. He acquitted himself much better than Levesque, but he still didn't have specific answers. Did he handle himself better? He did. But did we learn anything? We learned nothing. I don't know anything about how the culture's changing in that company. I don't know anything about, and I get on these conference calls, it's hard. I'm not blaming anybody today because you get one crack and they mute your mic. You don't get a follow-up. We got to rely on each other with the follow-ups. We got to know that if Cameron Hawkins asks about what are you doing and he doesn't give it, we got to know that the next person, whether it's Brandon Thurston or whether it's New York Diva Demon 1, we need to know that that next person is going to ask the right follow-up. And unfortunately, while we're making progress here, we're not to the point where we can be sure that that's going to happen, because these content creators are still in the room and they don't know how to read the room. And they don't know that in situations like this, they need to sit down and not ask for the mic. And don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. You had 4 separate events to do whatever it is you do. And I don't even know what these people do. It's so far out of my sphere. And I'm being polite. Okay? But they don't need to do it in that time and place. And that's why I thought Brandon was on point. And that's why Alba, where I understand where he's coming from, what Alba has to understand with his statement, okay, is that the reason this is always a story is because wrestling media collectively, we're terrible at it. And it's going to keep being a story until we stop being terrible at it. And it shouldn't have taken the biggest scandal in the history of the business to shine a light on this. Because, Rich, you and I have been talking about this for years. And maybe if we would have fixed this shit back when we were complaining about it, we would have had some better representation, some better questions in that room, some better follow-ups, and maybe we'd be putting these people's feet to the fire a little stronger if we would have gotten to. But I am glad that we're seeing progress. I'm glad that we're doing roundtables. I'm glad that it's being discussed. Okay? This is all progress from these rants that you and I have been having for years on here. So, from that standpoint, you know, that those are some of the things the Shawn Michaels presser today made me think about. I think we're getting a little better at this.
We are. Yeah,
a little better.
We're not there yet, and I'd love to see this in practice. I want to see the same energy kept up at a live presser as well. I think it's a little easier to do it on a call, and I get that. I totally get that. It's a little easier to press these people on a call. It's a little bit easier to press Shawn Michaels as opposed to Paul Levesque, who's standing in front of you or whatever. But you know what? No, I mean, if this is a big boy story, and he's a big boy executive, and if you truly, truly, truly care about the stuff that's going on here, and you truly care about getting answers and justice and the health and safety of the people that you like to watch on TV or whatever, then this is it, man. This is it. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is it. This is a potential corporate-wide, complete corporate executive suite-wide corruption and sex trafficking and sexual assault. It doesn't get bigger than this. We let this one go and don't get anything out of this. It's not going to be like this again. This is the biggest story, like we said, in arguably in wrestling history.
The biggest and most important story. I mean,
right.
Look, I got a couple text messages from a reporter who was in the room, and I don't know, Rich, I know this kind of made the rounds, but I don't know if you were aware of it or our listeners was. But I'm going to read you what this reporter said to me. He said, totally overshadowed at the press conference on Saturday, there was a member of the press in the room carrying a replica belt, as well as 2 people wearing a Hulk Hogan cosplay. And he goes on to say, I guess they could have just been fans who were given access, but I don't think, but I don't think. Okay, there's typos here. I'm going to try to make sense of what the rest of this says. I guess they could have just been fans who were given access because I don't think they asked questions, but who can really tell? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Look, if you're some content creator who carries around a replica belt,
Hulk Hogan cosplay of all people, Hulk Hogan,
and you're carrying around a replica belt and all that, and you've got press credentials, and you paid to fly to fucking Tampa and rub elbows with your favorite wrestlers, man, you do you. But what I would ask is, please do it at the 4 specific PR events where it's appropriate. That's all. And stay out of people's way, like my friend here who texted me, who was in that room and was disappointed that maybe they weren't given the mic. Can we just stay out of people? Can we read the room a little and not be selfish about it? When you had 4 separate events to create your little content, whatever it is you're doing, having fun out there, that's great. Let the serious people do serious things. That's all. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I think it's important. And I think, fuck, man, Rich, I think this show has been important with this stuff.
I do. I really do. We've been loud and annoying about it. We've been annoying about it for a very long time.
Loud and annoying about it.
Yeah.
And
as per usual, as we are with everything, loud and annoying. But hey, you know what? Sometimes it works.
and we get subtweeted and sub-discussed and everything because we're like, again, we're the little redheaded stepchildren and we're we don't get acknowledged, but I feel like when it, our influence has been felt with this, and that's a good thing. And I hate to use cliches like bullying works but you got to keep the pressure on. We got to keep the pressure on this stuff because this is the most important and biggest scandal in the history of the business. If we weren't seeing progress on this one, it truly was.
It's hopeless. Over. It is over. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I just have now in my mind when you told me about the Hulk Hogan cosplayers and the guy with the replica belt, all I can imagine now is like an NBA press conference with some guy wearing like a jersey and then another guy walking in with like a little tiny replica ball. You know what I mean? Like a little tiny replica ball.
Yeah. Well, Rich, these people were there to have fun and party and and take selfies and sing karaoke.
Right? It's Adrian Wojnarowski and then the guy next to him in like a fucking Jason Tatum jersey.
Yeah, it's with a replica fucking NBA
little yeah, with a little Larry O'Brien trophy. Yeah, beside him.
Preposterous. And I'm not saying that all sports reporters are on the ball because they ask terrible questions
too. Of course.
But I can guarantee you, if there was a scandal of this magnitude, you wouldn't get those terrible questions. At least not at this level, in an NFL press conference or an NBA press conference. If the commissioner of one of these leagues was being accused of what Vince was being accused of, or an owner of a team was being accused of the things, that's the better comparison, I think. If the owner of a team was accused of these sorts of things and the head coach was up there, no one's asking about why they were poor on the offensive boards tonight. Okay, no one's asking that. I can promise you. No one's asking a single question about that. That's a guarantee. Okay. They're asking the pertinent questions, and that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. A classic catch.
Content creators. Yeah, go ahead.
Classic catch is in the Noto chat room, and obviously we talked about her last week. She has a history in PR. Says, quote, imagine the first Penn State presser after Sandusky and someone dresses up as the Lion to the presser. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like as the Penn State Lion.
Listen. And that analogy sounds preposterous.
With like a little pennant, that says "Go Lions." You know what I mean?
It's the same exact thing.
It's the same thing. Yes. Well, everybody else is asking questions about this decade long, sexual abuse of children and trafficking children across state lines for the purposes of sexual abuse. And someone comes into the Nittany Lions, fight song on their phone and their lion outfit with their little pennant that says "Go Lions." That's what the Hulk Hogan cosplayers were. You know what I mean? That's what the replica belt guy was.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't imagine someone standing up to ask Joe Paterno if he feels like they're entering the best era of Penn State football in the face of this fucking scandal. They wouldn't work in media anymore if they asked a question like that.
Or when a guy starts a question by saying, all right, now let's get to a little bit of a nicer question here. It's like, what? No, we don't get nice questions right now. This guy is being asked about this decade-long covering up of child sexual abuse. No, we don't get a nicer question right now. Sorry.
But again, the difference is in wrestling, 90% of the people are amateurs who are getting back on their little plane and flying home and going back to their day job on Monday. And they don't work for outlets. They have a YouTube page where they upload videos talking to Liv Morgan for 8 minutes. Totally vapid content, which I have no use for. I mean, I guess there's some people out there that like it. It's whatever. Again, I don't care. You have your 4 PR events to do that is all I'm saying. We got to get to the point where if these people are going to be around, and unfortunately they're going to be around, we have to get to the point where they at least understand when they should not ask for the mic. That's all. So, I feel like we're kind of repeating ourselves now. We should probably just move on to something else. But I think it's good, though, that people like Thurston and Alba are being more outspoken about it and, step into the plate. It's like I told you on the Rumble Instant Reaction Live. Alba, I have maybe my own different issues with him that aren't important in the grand scheme of this, but he always asks good questions when he's at these things. He typically will always ask a good question. From that standpoint, because this is what he does for a living. And Thurston too always asks. The ones are who the ones are who are going to ask a good question. So anyway, that's our latest take on on the wrestling media stuff?
How do we? Yeah, well, let's just talk about Vengeance Day because that's coming up this Sunday. Obviously, that's what Michaels was on there to promote. And he got a little bit of chance to promote it, but Vengeance Day is this weekend. Of course, you all knew there was an NXT special this weekend. You're all going to be ready to go. You've all canceled your plans. No football on this weekend. Well, maybe is the Pro Bowl this weekend? I forget. They do the whatever the hell the shell of the Pro Bowl is now. It's the Pro Bowl games, right? The games.
It's the Pro Bowl games, and it goes on all week. Tonight was dodgeball. So
it's going to get 9 million people watch that, right? Like all these things are going to destroy the NBA tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know they do stuff all week. I don't know if it all airs on tape later or airs every night. I don't even, because I don't pay much attention. I did watch the dodgeball last year, and I have to admit, it was really fun watching NFL players play dodgeball against each other. That was amusing to me. They also have like a golf long drive challenge where they're just trying to whack drives as far as they can. So they do silly little competitions like that instead of, because the game became a farce because nobody wanted to tackle each other anymore for obvious reasons. Who wants to get injured playing the Pro Bowl? So yeah, the Pro Bowl games is what the NFL does now. So yeah.
But that's this weekend. But otherwise, no football. So you got all the time in the world to watch NXT Vengeance Day. We have the NXT title match here, Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. But this is important because Trick Williams is in 2 matches on this night. Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic final match, which will be earlier in the night. Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. And then he's here later in the title match, NXT title match, Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. Now, I think we all see where this is going. I would hope that even the most casual NXT fan knows where this is going. And by the way, we're going to be on the right side of history about the Trick Williams over Carmelo thing. But everything points to probably them losing the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, Corbin and Breaker winning, and then Carmelo coming out and costing Trick Williams the title match. Right? Is that where your head's at? Because that to me is where I feel like we're going.
Yeah. They've been kind of building towards Carmelo and Trick had some issues, then they patched them up, but then Carmelo does the WWE thing where he just stares off into space when Trick walks off, because they have to telegraph everything that they're going to do. So yeah, there's a high probability of that. The problem is Carmelo's already on the main roster, so that's kind of weird. Like, are you going to have this extended feud in NXT with Trick while you're also on the main roster? The other thing is Carmelo hasn't looked great on the main roster.
He is not.
Now look, this is not a victory lap, but I can tell you that, and our listeners know this, you and I, definitely me, but I think you as well, we're on the Trick train immediately. We're like, okay, look at that fucking guy. If he picks this up, that's a potential star.
I think that was the biggest thing for me is he going to be able to pick this up? I mean, obviously from the Raw tools, you saw that guy and you said, that's the dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? That guy is huge.
That's the
he
dude,
looks the part.
Not Carmelo.
Right.
Because to like the common viewer, like they look like Carmelo was more polished. He was an indie wrestler for years and a good one. Like, yeah, he's an indie name. And obviously he had more polish and all those things. And Trick was starting from ground zero as a college football player. And, one of their off the street, high ceiling, low floor recruits.
I was going to say Carmelo had the higher floor and probably the lower ceiling, and Trick had a very high ceiling and a very low floor. We had no idea.
Right. All of their college recruits really are the case because they're great athletes and they're attractive people and they look good, but you just don't know whether they're going to pick it up. But if they do pick it up big time, they have super high ceilings. But when you look at Trick and Carmelo all along, it was always, all right, well, if Trick picks this up, I think he's going to blow right past Carmelo. And they've finally gotten behind Trick big time. And this is going to be a big night for him with the 2 matches, and they're probably going to do a big angle. They're going to do some kind of angle, probably what you laid out, but they're no doubt going to do something. And, Carmelo, as predicted, when he gets to the main roster, the height becomes an issue. The charisma doesn't jump off the page the same way as it does in front of 300 people at wherever it's not Full Sail. What do they call it now? At the fucking whatever that.
It's not the Capitol Wrestling Center anymore either. Yeah, I forget what they call their thing now. I kind of tune it out at this point.
Everyone knows what we're talking about. It doesn't matter. And it's like, and we kind of thought he might get swallowed up on the main roster when he got there, right? He's kind of more of a small room guy in terms of, the energy he projects, whereas Trick could be a big room guy. We know he could talk. It was just a matter of whether he's going to pick up the wrestling and pick up the nuances of pro wrestling and all those things. And I think he's coming around okay, and we'll see. It's a huge night. He's in there with Ilya Dragunov. Rich, you could have a great match with Ilya Dragunov.
I'm sure I could. Yes, he could
if
punch me and shot me and headbutt me, and I think we'd have a pretty good thing going.
Yeah, and he's gonna make his constipated Sean Penn faces, and he's gonna sell, and he's gonna hit you hard back, and so if Trick can't have a great match with this guy, because Carmelo did, but Carmelo's ahead of Trick, granted. But he should be able to have a great match with this guy, and it'll be a big night for him, big spotlight. And if you're asking me today, I'm in the same place I was 2 years ago. I'd be buying all the Trick stock, and I wouldn't be buying the Carmelo stock. If it's a 1-versus-1 situation, I'm still gambling on Trick, even though Carmelo is the safer bet to have a nice, comfortable career, because he can have that.
Oh yeah.
But if I'm betting on a star, I'm betting on Trick.
Right. The long-term play would probably be if you wanted to keep these guys together, is that Trick just leaps him, and then Trick is the guy and Carmelo's but he doesn't have the charisma to be a manager either. So it's like the only way you would be able to really work that out is if they were like a tag team, like they are right now with Trick being the monster and Carmelo being the little guy of the team or whatever. But that's not, that's not using Trick to his fullest ability either. And I think I really do. I really, and I forget, what was the pay-per-view? Was it the not the New Year's show? What the hell was maybe Deadline or whatever. I think it was Deadline. Let me double check. That was the show where he was in. Yeah, that was the show where he was in that Iron Survival match. And when that was done, it was like, everyone's going to have to start seeing it our way now, right? And that was the time when because I was always like on your side. They had Trick had the higher, but I just didn't know if he was going to be able to put it together. That was the match where like halfway through that match, you could tell he was getting it. And by the end, he got it. And it was like, okay, this guy's off to the races now. He gets it. He just understands what it means, all that sort of stuff, that crowd connection, that sort of stuff. He's the guy that became a star, and the fans are reacting because he's a star. Carmelo was the guy they always told you was the star, and people said he was a star. It was one of those things. It was a classic WWE star where they just keep saying this guy's a star, this guy's a star, this guy's a star, and people just start eventually saying it and aping it, and oh yeah, that guy's a star, that guy's a star, that guy's a star. And it never really came across. And then you see when it getting down to brass tacks that he's just not that jump off the page kind of guy.
Listen,
and
he got over in NXT. I'll say that. He got over in NXT, Carmelo Hayes. Here's the thing. This shit takes time. Trick Williams is still a literal rookie. Has he had 100 matches? I don't even know if he's had 100 matches in his life. Okay? Carmelo Hayes, like we said, Christian Casanova was on the indies, high-level indies, for 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah, I think maybe a lot of people don't know that about Carmelo Hayes. He is not a PC product. He was in Beyond in the Northeast Indies for a number of years.
Oh, Limitless, because he's from the Northeast, the New England area.
Yeah.
All those big promotions up there. He worked those major and big time. He wasn't working shindies either. Okay, this was a guy who was he a top level PWG's bringing him in for fucking for Bola level name? No, but he was that next level down. If you followed indie wrestling, you knew who Christian Casanova was, and you knew he was good. And you weren't surprised when he got signed, right? That's kind of the level he was on. So he came into the PC polished, okay? So Trick Williams, if you were overlapping his career with Carmelo Hayes debuted in 2014, okay? Trick Williams would be what? In 2016 at this point.
Yeah.
Still 4 years away or 4 or 5 years away from signing. Just to give people some perspective, at this same point in their careers, Carmelo Hayes was still a half decade away from getting in the door. And Trick Williams has been on TV since day one. It takes time. That's a true developmental situation. Ilya Dragunov is not developing. Carmelo Hayes is not developing anymore. You know what I mean? These guys came in polished to some degree. They just had to learn WWE's way. Guys like Braun Breaker and Trick Williams, they're true developmental pieces who are learning from nothing. But they're on TV, and we have to judge them as such. And sometimes we might be a little harsh, but we're not the ones putting them on TV.
No, they're on national TV, and USA is paying them millions of dollars to be on national TV, so sorry.
Yeah. So you put them on TV, I got to tell you what I'm seeing. And sometimes it's not pretty. The NXT women's division.
Oh.
Do you know what, the NXT women's division is what people say AEW is in terms of flippy doos, no psychology, nobody sells, half the spots are blown. That's what trolls say that the AEW house style is, and we all know that's bullshit, right? That's what the NXT women's division is. What people say AEW is. What dumb people think AEW is, that's what the NXT. I think they have so lost the plot in what they do with their women's division in NXT. I don't know what Shawn Michaels is doing. Every one of these girls down there, pretty much all of them stink. And they're taught to try things that are so above their heads that it comes off almost embarrassing on TV, how inept that these people are. They can't even run the ropes properly. They blow things like simple hip tosses, but yet all of them are doing springboard moves and flippy doos. What the fuck are we doing down
unrelated,
there?
They're all getting hurt. A lot of them have torn ACLs. Danny Palmer just had to get double hip surgery. She's 25 years old. What?
Now, this has to be some calculated strategy to train the women in this way, but I don't understand why. Why are we doing this? Sol Ruka, who is an incredible athlete, she's been out with the blown knee for how long?
Yeah.
We go right down the list, and it's like, maybe we need to, reel it in and pump the brakes a little with these off-the-street trainees and stop having them do shit that, it's like they're doing things that the top-level guys in Arena Mexico are doing, but executing properly and safely because they know what the fuck they're doing. And these people are just, they're essentially rookies and amateurs trying to do this shit. And it looks bad. They're getting injured, and it doesn't make any sense because they don't do this with the men. The NXT men,
the opposite. Dragon Lee. We wish Dragon Lee would do 1/8 of what Lola Vice does on an episode of NXT. They make Dragon Lee do headlock matches, and then they let Lola Vice do Dragon Lee matches. What are we doing here? What is this?
They're so out of their depth. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
So weird.
But anyway, what's the rest of this Vengeance card? Because we got a lot to do.
Yeah. So we got no disqualification match: Joe Gacy versus Dijak. You got the family, Joe. Your fellow Italians here: Adriana Rizzo, Channing Lorenzo, and Tony D'Angelo versus Out the Mud: Bronco Nima, Jada Parker, Lucian Price, with Scripps, of course. Scripps will be there as well. So the family versus Out the Mud. I know you cannot wait for that. NXT North American title match: Obafemi versus Dragon Lee. Obafemi, another guy who's got a lot of potential. Not quite there yet, but a guy that you could definitely see in the future if things go right and if he gets it. He doesn't quite have it yet. I think people are getting a little too ahead of themselves on Obafemi, but I do think that definitely he's got that superstar look and superstar potential.
Well, look at him. Look at the fucking guy. It's like I understand it. When you see, because he looks like he's got the look of a major star.
Oh god,
like
yeah, he looks incredible. And then Lyra Valkyria versus Roxanne Perez for the NXT. I haven't watched the NXT television. Did Lyra make Roxanne go to the place that she doesn't even know that she can go to? I imagine when I watch this show that I'm gonna have to fucking watch for some goddamn reason. There's gonna be a video package where Lyra Valkyrie goes ha 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 ha, and then Roxanne Perez goes, I don't even know where I'm at right now with my life. And I'm gonna go, God damn it! It's just a never-ending loop of time. Could she just win this title? Win a title. Like, you're really bad. Why does she keep getting title shots? Everybody's mad about AEW rankings. What the hell? I was Roxanne Perez. How many chances does she get to win matches?
Roxanne Perez has been involved in more like death feuds than Tommy Rich in the 80s, except with none of the blood. Right. None of
You're
the
still
blood
waiting,
somehow.
though. You're still waiting. Maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time when she runs the razor on there. I don't know. You're waiting. One of these takeovers, you're going to joke about it, and then it's going to happen.
I listen.
I don't think it's going to be this
God's
one.
ears.
I don't think it's
so.
going to be this one, but sometime.
Yeah.
Sometime, Joe.
Yeah, but no, she's kind of a meme on this show. I listen. I'm sure she's a nice lady, Rich, but I cannot fucking stand Roxanne Perez. No. She's just that is like your prototypical modern WWE presentation.
Yeah, WWE Women's Superstar.
WWE. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so what I not want out of my wrestling. You know what I want out of my wrestling? I want Bryan Danielson versus Yuji Nagata, and then a week later, Bryan Danielson versus Hechicero. Yes. Why? Because fuck you. That's why. That's what I want out of my wrestling. And I get it. We all like what we like. But there's just such an inauthenticity to these Roxanne Perez's and such that and most of NXT that's just It's why I kind of have this existential thing where I fear that this is the future of wrestling, because if this is what they're teaching everybody, this is what they want on the main roster. And if this takes over the main roster, everybody follows the leader and always have. And now everyone, and I'm terrified that modern NXT is the future of pro wrestling, and it scares the shit out of me. So, did you go down? Is there anything else on this card? Or
that's it. So we'll unfortunately review this next week. I'll force myself to watch this dumb shit show, and we'll probably bury it next week on this show. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be great, and we'll rave about it. But I don't know. NXT Vengeance Day coming up this weekend on your Peacock WWE Network. Which
you looking forward to that review next week? I know you're looking forward to that review next week.
Cannot wait. Yeah, I got to watch this. Like, my problem is I keep NXT until like Wednesday or Thursday morning. I can't do that. I gotta just watch this thing. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't know if I can watch it live. I gotta watch it like the morning of, the night of, something like that. I gotta nail it right away. Cannot wait.
When's it on?
NXT Vengeance Day is on. Of course, I know this, and I'm not being pressed. Sunday is on Sunday.
Oh, with the no football.
Yeah, Sunday night.
Usually that's when they used to do the Rumble, remember?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The week before the Super Bowl, when it was because they used to sometimes do Super Bowls without the week off. Now they always do the week off. And they would try to position the Rumble on that Sunday, but now they do it this year they did it on the Saturday of the championship games, which, that works too. So Vengeance Day. We will review that next week. We'll probably have another fucking breakdown reviewing it. But do you think it could break us any further, NXT?
Nah. We've been taking.
It's not the NXT
Halloween Havoc. No, there was that Halloween Havoc that broke us. We'll never get there again. We'll never get there again.
The problem though is it's not the actual NXT shows that break us. It's people overrating the NXT shows that break us. Because we can never understand why people enjoy anything about these shows.
Right. It's one of those ones where you're like, am I the problem? Am I wrong? Like,
right.
What?
It makes us question our own sanity.
Yes.
When we watch the show and we're like, wow, that was somehow worse than the last one. That sucked. And then you log on and everybody fucking loved it. And you're like, what is this? What is going on here? Have I lost touch? Is it the children that are wrong? Like what is happening here? That's the only fucking company that does the little whatever you want to call it, sub company. So, people love our NXT reviews though. Well, some people love them. Some people are like, why are you doing this? It's the worst audio. And then other people are like, it's our favorite thing you do.
We have to do it.
Stop
we have to do
NXT reviews. Yeah. So,
because if we don't, who will? Everyone else will tell you.
Someone's got to tell the truth about these NXT shows.
Right. We have to do it.
That's been my theory on it. If we hand wave the NXT shows, we can't let the narrative take over that these shows are good. We can't allow that to happen. Now, if it's good, I'll tell you it's good. It's not going to be good. Maybe it'll be good.
That trick in a big spot might be good.
Maybe it'll be good.
Ilya versus Trick's got me excited. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, if they're going to gimmick it up in a bad way. Like Carmelo's going to come out and his music's going to hit and then they're going to stare at each other.
They're going to do a lot of staring. There will be a lot of staring.
Yeah, cut promos on each other.
Booker T's like, I don't like where this is going, Vic.
Yeah. Carmelo, they'll do a ref bump. Carmelo will come in and hit whatever his finisher is, and then he'll stand over and go, "You asked for this. I didn't want to do this." He'll cut some fucking promo on him, and and we'll hate it. Whatever they do, we'll hate it.
There's a pretty good chance.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, let's get to the world of AEW here. The first batch of AEW rankings. Oh yes. What do you got?
I have an NBA text from a listener who says is this
about Obi Toppin again?
This is the mystery Nick fan who gives you a hard time. It's all caps text. It says, "Fine 9. Knicks win 9th straight. Hottest team in all of sports. Tell Rich to talk about that on the show tonight." So there you go.
Hottest team in all of sports, huh?
That's what it says. I'm just reading you the text.
Okay.
Fine 9. Knicks win 9th straight. Lots of exclamation points. Hottest team in all of sports. Tell Rich to talk about that tonight. Exclamation point. This person's convinced that you just hate the Knicks.
Well, what's his Obi Toppin thing? Because he was big about Obi Toppin for a couple years, and then they threw him to the side because he stunk and wasn't doing anything. Now he hasn't texted about that in a while, about Obi Toppin.
Haven't heard about. To be fair, we have not heard about Obi Toppin in quite a while. But we haven't heard from the Knicks fan in a while.
No, we
haven't
heard from the Knicks fan. Yeah, he comes at the right time. Yeah,
the show, but the Knicks fan knows we're doing the show, and the Knicks fan is all over you. So
they've been good. They've been really good. My guy Jalen Brunson, who the Mavericks should have never let go, is helping them out a lot. 9 straight. The OG Anunoby trade they made was good. I can't hate the Knicks. Can't hate the Knicks right now.
Why does the mystery Knicks fan think that you need to be owned when it comes to the Knicks? I'm confused about.
I mean, I hate the Knicks. That's definitely. I always root against the Knicks, and I always will root against the Knicks.
But you don't ever really talk about your hatred.
No,
of the Knicks
I really don't. I mean, that's deep. He might. I don't know. Maybe I said something in person when I met him or something like that.
I can't confirm or deny.
I know exactly who it is, and maybe I said something about it at the time, but.
I will never reveal. You know,
I think he's just. I think Knicks fans are very insecure, and they should be. They haven't won a thing in decades, so I get why they're very insecure about it. But I think that's it. They're just very insecure, and they're holding on to 1970s championships and haven't done shit since the 90s. So I get why they're a little testy about stuff. So it's fine.
I had to grow up with and go to school with Knicks fans,
right?
Like middle school and junior high and high school. And on top of that, I was a Nets fan. So you can imagine.
Well, nobody made you do that. I don't know why you chose that.
That was a cool time to be a Nets fan, to be fair. Drazen Petrovic.
There hasn't been many. You're right. There was a brief time where it was okay to be a Nets fan.
Brief time.
Right.
A brief time. Chris Morris. That was a cool team.
Yeah,
it was a cool team. So Chuck Daly showed up, and it was Bill Fitch early on.
Yeah.
And but Knicks fans though. Absolute animals, every single one of them. The memes that people see and the video, that one famous video,
the Bing Bong guy. Yeah, they beat the Atlanta Hawks in one game, and the whole town getting shut down. It's like, come on.
But that's really how they are. That's not like a bit. Like that's Knicks fans. That's how they are. That's how they operate. That's how they talk shit. They don't get to talk shit much. Like if you're
but
Knicks
they still
fan,
do. That's what I don't get it. They haven't won shit since the 70s, and they're still going on about it.
If you're a Knicks fan under 30, you've seen nothing. Like, what have you seen if you're a Knicks fan under 30?
Saw Carmelo limp them to some first-round losses in a conference finals, I guess. Did they? I don't even remember if they made a conference final in the Melo era. I don't even think they did.
What? Forget
conference
30.
semis. They didn't even get to the conference finals.
If you're a Knicks fan under 40.
Under 40, yes.
What have you seen?
You saw them lose in the finals a couple times. You saw them lose in the finals to the Rockets.
If you're 40, you became a fan when you were 10. Is that fair? 10, and that's
you become like a conscious
fan.
If you want to say like a conscious fan, yes.
So that's 1994. You did catch the end of Ewing then, right?
Right. You saw the end. You saw them losing the finals to the Rockets.
As a 10-year-old.
Right. You saw them.
It barely counts.
Flail around and lose to the Heat and get in fights for a couple years. Then you saw them losing the finals to the Spurs. And then you saw them trade for Stephon Marbury and that whole shitty
Amari
team.
Stoudemire.
Yeah, and go through all that. And then they had the brief run of overrating the Carmelo age. And then they, lost in the semis a couple times. And they missed the playoffs for like the last decade. So, yeah, other than that, haven't done much.
Like, to be a Knicks fan who really saw some cool shit, you got to be at least 50. And honestly, older than that.
Yeah, you're going to their last finals one was 1973. It's a long time ago, Joe.
So, yeah, that's what I mean. So if you're 50, then you were 10 years old in 1984. All right, if you're 50, you at least saw Ewing's entire career.
Right. You saw late Bernard King and a little bit of and all of Ewing.
Right. But to see a championship, you got to be like 70 at this point.
Yeah.
70 at this point to have seen a championship. And believe me, those aren't 70-year-olds in that video after beating Trae Young. Okay? Those are 20-year-olds. What are they cocky about? Explain to me. You're a big NBA guy.
I don't know, man. It's just Knicks. I was going to ask you because you grew up in that era and grew up with those people. I would love to know. I don't know. I guess, yeah.
A 20-year-old Knicks fan barely remembers Jeremy Lin.
Right.
That's like 10 years ago. Was it 10? About 10 years ago. Right?
Yeah, it was 2011. Yeah.
It was fucking 13 years ago. if you're a 21-year-old Knicks fan getting drunk at Madison Square Garden, you don't remember Jeremy
all you know
Lin.
is the RJ Barrett era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's your era that you know.
You don't even know the Knicks. Right? Like, you don't even know the fucking Knicks. Yeah. No, I've been away from them for a while, but they
come back. See,
animals.
you get a text like that, and it all comes back to you. It all comes back to you. I will say, I am reading.
That one's a little older than 21. That one's a little older than 21. That one saw some things.
I will tell your friend there, the Knicks fan, that I am reading the Blood in the Garden, the book about the '90s Knicks. It is very, very good. Highly recommended. Let's read that.
Well, I'll tell you what, mystery Knicks fan, I will say this. Locked in for all 82. I can't knock a man who's locked in for all 82. That you through all these horrible years too. Locked in. So I do respect that.
That is respectable. Yeah, so desperate. He's aping for Obi Toppin. You know what I mean? Trying to fight people about the respect of Obi Toppin.
Desperate to grasp on to anything.
Right, Kevin Knox and Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett. Yeah. It's like, they stink,
God.
Right?
Awful. And they've had like all these big name coaches, Lenny Wilkins,
Mike D'Antoni, Larry Brown. Yeah, you could go down the entire history of the Knicks. It's just
it never
it's never worked. We're gonna hire Phil Jackson as an executive. That'll work. Right. Nope, he's not even here. Works. He doesn't even leave LA. He just calls. Nope. He just calls. I don't know what to do. I'm tired. Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
Don Chaney at one point, I think they brought in. Right, Don Nelson was there. Patino, I forgot about Patino. QB Brown.
Well, yeah. I mean, they hire Lenny Wilkins and he falls asleep on the bench. Falls asleep. Now, listen, he was a tired old man.
He was a very old man at that point. A very old man.
But that's the point. Right? They just throw anything against the wall to see if it'll stick.
Derek Fisher. I forgot they hired Derek Fisher too.
Oh, God. Yeah, they Derek Fisher.
He's going to add winning culture. No, okay, never mind.
They even tried the gritty homegrown. Like they tried Herb Williams. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Like Herb Williams. Gritty backup on the Ewing teams. Ingrained in the culture of the city. They even tried that. They've tried everything. Everything. Nothing works.
But they're good now. They're having a good year, so good for them.
They got to freeze another card. They got to freeze another fucking bingo ball in the fucking lottery. That's the only thing that's going to work, right? Do you think they froze the card for Stern?
Oh, God, yes. For Ewing?
Oh, you believe
absolutely.
in that?
Oh, absolutely.
You believe in that?
Yeah.
The frozen card theory.
Something was weird about that.
Yeah.
Too good. The theory is perfect.
The theory is they put the Nick envelope in a freezer. Because in those days with the lottery,
you pulled out an envelope.
Youngins out there, they had envelopes with the logos inside or whatever. They didn't have the fucking lottery ball. They do lottery balls.
They don't anymore now. Well, they sort of do, but like they do it backstage. They do it like behind and then what happens is Adam Silver comes up and he opens up envelopes and goes, the number 3 pick goes to
that match the ball,
the Charlotte Hornets, and they go
Back then they just had envelopes.
Right.
The theory is that they had the Knicks envelope in a freezer all day so that when Stern put his hand in, he could feel around for the one that was cold, right? And pull out that Nick envelope.
Just too perfect. Just too perfect. The guy from the area, 1985, on the Knicks as they're getting new TV deals, superstar, right. a future superstar. Hey, just like I'll say, Chicago Bulls got Derrick Rose with the number 1. They got number 1 in the lottery when Derrick Rose is available. And I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, this is fucking ridiculous. I mean, I'll take it. I'm fine with it, but it's ridiculous. There's no way that actually happened. So
conspiracies.
Yeah. Sports conspiracies are fun. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Remember when conspiracy used to be fun? Remember that? Remember those days?
Yeah.
There's a whole generation of people that don't understand that conspiracies used to be like a lot of fun, and now they're just awful.
Well, the problem is conspiracies are attached to the wrong kind of people.
Yeah.
So if you want to have fun with a conspiracy, people think that, there's a pizzeria. You think
right. You think a pizzeria is harboring child rape. Yeah. Right. Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you can't, it's not even fun to get into it because you don't want to be misapplied to that. But speaking of things that are rigged, do you think the AEW rankings are rigged?
Oh,
Rich Craig,
I don't know if these are on the up and up. Yeah, the rankings are back. And as we said, more importantly, the dumb and bad opinions about them have been released to the wild as well. I do think that these rankings are rigged, Joe. I'm starting to wonder here. Are these being used to advance storylines? Because I've been hearing a lot of people say, I don't know about these rankings. I feel like they're just being used to fit AEW's narrative. And Joe, I agree. I agree. We're going to be conspiracy theorists on this show here. I agree. I think these rankings are being done to push AEW's agenda and storylines.
No, I think they're a shoot, Rich. I think that they take a look at all the facts and they make sure they line up everybody in the right order.
I'm just saying, and, Joe, I think it's Deonna Purrazzo is the number one contender for Toni Storm's women's title. Feels weird. Yeah, Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page are 1 and 2 in the contenders, and then they just so happen to be facing off with each other next week in a number one contenders match. Don't love it.
That's really the disconnect with the rankings. I love them, and I'm glad they're back because, for all the reasons we've talked about a million times, I think they keep the booking honest. I think you could build storylines off of them. I think they're just another great booking device and to have at your disposal. The other reason I love the rankings is people whining, crying, and complaining about the rankings.
I'm so glad it's back.
It's my new kink. I love it. I love it so much. It's if people see people whining, complaining, and shitting on the rankings, saying how much they hate them, please send everything to me because I can't get enough of it. It pleases me greatly to watch people twist themselves into a pretzel over these dopey rankings. And I'm telling you what the disconnect is. These people who hate the rankings or think that they're stupid or they get in the way or they don't make sense or this and that, they're busy viewing them through the lens of being a shoot. Nothing in wrestling is a shoot. They're a work like everything else. They're just another way to tell the stories. And quite honestly, I think even knowing that, they're usually pretty fucking accurate anyway. They don't really fuck with them or manipulate them in a way that's blatantly bad. And that's just because there's a lot of people who aren't sports fans who don't understand how, rankings not based on winning percentage work. And they're never going to understand. You're never going to be able to convince those people because they don't get it. But I looked at these rankings that Tony put out, and I got to tell you, I didn't have any problems with them. I think they're really good. I mean, you look at the men's top 5, right? Swerve and Hangman are 1 and 2. They're both 4 and 0. Swerve's ahead of Hangman because he beat him twice, so it makes sense that he would be ahead of him. They're going to have a match next week on TV, and the winner is going to be the clear-cut number 1 contender. What the fuck could possibly be the problem with those rounds? Like, what's the problem, right? I heard someone complaining that Roderick Strong was number 5, and it shouldn't be Roderick Strong. It should be Bryan Danielson, or it should be this guy or that guy. Who fucking cares? Who number 5? Like, why? That's what I'm talking about when I say people get worked into a shoot with these things, and they're like trying to figure out who should be the 5th ranked man instead of Roderick Strong, instead of just looking at it as a booking device. Roderick Strong's getting an international title shot on the pay-per-view. So they ranked him number 5 so that they can say he's the number 5. That's all. That's all. You'll get worked up about this kind of thing, which at least it's based on something, but you don't get worked up about how in all of 2023, AEW title contenders just came out of thin air and oftentimes didn't make sense. You don't get worked up about that. That's okay. But if there's a system in place that kind of makes it make more sense, you're mad about that. Isn't that backwards?
Right. People just getting random title matches just because whatever, fuck you, that's why people have no problem with. But then this guy gets a title match because we ranked him number 4 in the rankings. That they have a problem with.
And I think he shouldn't be 4th. I think this guy should be 4th. It's like, okay, but Willow Nightingale losing a number 1 contender match and then getting a title shot a week later, that
annoys me. That offends me.
Exactly.
Right.
And what the rankings do is eliminate that shit.
Right, you can't do that.
The booker honest. The booker can't do that anymore. The booker can't take the cheap way out. The booker can't be lazy. And that's just one example. Because if you listen to my TV reviews all of 2023, which weren't very kind to the company, okay, I complained about this shit all year long. They got rid of the rankings sometime in late 2022 or whenever it was. It's not important when. 2023, they didn't have them. And we saw many instances of people getting these random title shots that didn't make any sense if you were paying any attention to the company. And that's the shit that bothers me. I don't like when one of the things that ran me off from WWE is the fucking Miz or whoever coming out and deciding that they're going to be a title contender. And then you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, they haven't won a TV match in 6 months. Why the fuck is this person the number one contender all of a sudden?
Jinder Mahal getting a title shot after
it just happened. It just
after
fucking
not
happened.
Wrestling and never winning ever. He doesn't wrestle and he doesn't
in an entire year.
Yeah.
That as a fan should piss you off. Not rankings that attempt to make sense of it and keep the booker honest, right? And give it a little bit of structure and something to follow. Because now we know that match next week, is for the number one contender. And the thing about the rankings is, if you don't like them, and if you think Rich and I are full of shit, and you just can't wrap your head around this, then you can just ignore them. How is this any different than before? Right? If Tony Schiavone tells you that, just pick anybody on the rankings. If Sting and Darby Allin are number one contenders of the tag team titles, you don't, that's no different than looking at a list and seeing them as the number one contender to the tag team titles. Just ignore them then. It shouldn't affect your enjoyment of the company at all if these rankings exist, because you don't have to acknowledge them as a fan. If you think for some reason it's too confusing, which I can't understand why you would think it's confusing.
Right. If it blows your mind that Private Party is number 4 in the tag team rankings and it's ruining your enjoyment of AEW, I don't know what to tell you, but it's probably just going to be Tony Schiavone saying, Private Party, number 4 in the tag team rankings of contenders, and they're going to wrestle their match, and then it's going to be over. It doesn't really affect that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Like, you're looking for reasons to be upset.
Ding, 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 ding. I think you got it.
You want to be upset about the rankings because I'm telling you, these people think the rankings should be like a shoot. They should be big, but what you fail to understand, they're a work. It's just another storytelling device. And here's the other dumb thing I always see. It's not the only storytelling device. You can still do your convoluted storylines. You can still have champions randomly decide that they have a grudge with someone and they want to challenge, they want to face a certain contender. You can still do title eliminators if you want someone to jump the line for storyline purposes or to pop a rating or whatever. It's just one of many storyline devices. So why would anyone have a problem with them? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's not the letter of the law and they're not a shoot. There's not a real life committee using some kind of statistical algorithm to decide how the people are ranked, and it's not going to get in the way of money matches or storylines. They're going to use it to create storylines. Like when Hangman Page was number one contender, got upset by Brian Cage, and lost a title shot because of it, and then got a rematch with Cage down the line to get revenge. That was a storyline created out of the rankings. Okay? And I will take something like that over whatever the fuck it was MJF was doing all summer with Adam Cole. I mean, so maybe it's just you want different things out of your rep, but you could do that and you could do both of those things. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Man.
You love it, though. I could hear it in your voice. You love it.
I love them. I'm so happy they're back.
No, you love the people getting upset about it. I could tell as you're complaining about it. I could feel the palpable energy coming off of you.
I love the people that complain about him. It gives me a fucking boner.
It comes from a number of different ways. It comes from the fact that, like you said, it's not ironclad and it's just being used as a storyline device too. But even so, like, you can tell these people know nothing about college or high school sports or combat sports or whatever, because we talked about it last week. Like, in college sports, sometimes a team has more wins than the other team and they're ranked below that team. It's just, that's kind of just it. We all know it. Everybody that follows sports knows it. No, sports fans don't
what happens.
Lose their minds, but it makes stories and it makes it fun.
You know what happens when there's egregiously bad college football rankings or controversial college football rankings? You know what happens?
People talk about it nonstop.
They own the headlines all week. People talk about it nonstop. For college football, they know it's a positive. Why do you think they release those fucking things on national TV now whatever night of the week it is, once the rankings come out for the first time? Because all the talk shows the next day are going to talk about it nonstop the next day. It's just, you got to stop looking at it like it's a shoot. You got to stop looking to poke holes. You got to stop saying, John Silver and Alex Reynolds are ranked second. Let me go on Cage Match and figure out a way to say that that's wrong and dumb. Just, you go on Cage Match, you're going to see that they're like 3-0 because it starts over every January. It's like a new season, so to speak, right? They're 3-0. They won a bunch of dark matches against...
People can barely handle that, by the way, too.
I know. It's like crazy. Like you... Okay. Can I explain that? You have to restart the records.
Right. You can't have every NBA season start with like the Celtics. It's like, well, they had.
Well, okay.
That'd be ridiculous. Think about that.
Well, here's what would be. Here's why they have to restart the records at some point every year, and why January is fine. Okay. Let's say I'm going to use a great example. Let me see if I can find this. Can you see if we can find on the AEW website? Okay. What is the AEWwrestling.com or something?
AllEliteWrestling.com. What do you need here?
What is Daniel Garcia's all-time record? It should
His
be on
all-time record. I got it for you here. I am on their website right now. Daniel Garcia's all-time record is 49-50.
All right, maybe he's not the best example. Who's a young wrestler who what's Kyle Fletcher's all-time record?
Let's see what Kyle Fletcher's all-time record is here. Scrolling. Where is he? He is 17-17.
All right. How about Commander?
Commander.
He's perfect.
He is 5-23.
Okay. That's my Huckleberry.
He's never going to be able to catch up to that if you don't restart the rankings.
Yeah, exactly. You know right where I'm going. Okay? Commander is not someone who Tony Khan is interested in pushing yet. Lee Moriarty is 28-33. You could find other examples of guys who might have a little upside, who Tony Khan at some point might desire to push, okay? But they're young wrestlers. It's not the time yet. Nick Wayne is 6-5. You can go right down the line, but I think the perfect one is Commander. Commander's 5-23, okay? He is a guy who has some upside. Maybe one day Tony Khan wants to push Commander. If you never reset the records... Okay. And Commander goes on a 10-match winning streak on television. That's a big winning streak. Wouldn't you say, Rich?
Oh, yeah.
And he's beaten the top contenders, right? And he goes on this. Let's say that started tomorrow on fucking Rampage. He's 10 straight wins. You can't rank him because he's still 15-23. It would be preposterous to then say, here's our number one contender. He's 15-23. But it wouldn't be preposterous to say, here's our number one contender. He's 11-5, because right now he's 1-5 in 2024. He's on a 10-match winning streak, and he's 11-5 in this current season, or whatever the fuck. That's why you have to reset the records every year at some point. It's not that big a deal. Because in pro wrestling, a guy might not get pushed for 5 years. And he might not ever catch up and have a winning record. You can have a guy become a world champion and still have a losing record.
Well,
That's plausible.
There's a great example from this week's Dynamite. Toa Leona from the Mogul Embassy. They put him in a big spot with Hangman, gave him some spots, like clearly tried to push him as like, hey, there's a guy that could, make some moves in the future, could be make some noise in the future. Here we go. He's 8-19. It would be very difficult for him, and he's probably going to lose a bunch of matches until then as well, until they're ready to push him. But there it is. Like, he's 8-19. It's going to be very difficult for him to ever catch up to that record, and that's just that. It's fine. It's okay. You just you work around it.
So you reset the No, you know that in January everybody gets a clean slate. It's a new listen. Is this any different than WWE the day after WrestleMania? Everyone knows that's like the start of the next year. Is it any different than New Japan New Year Dash on January 5th, where everybody who follows the promotion knows that's like the unofficial start of the new year? Wrestle Kingdom's the end of the previous year. New Year Dash is the start of the new year. WrestleMania is the end of the previous year. That Raw is the fresh start for the new year. The only difference here is we have some win-loss records, and those other places, they don't do that. And the fact that this winds all of these people up pleases me so greatly that it's so confusing. I don't understand. It's stupid. No, you're stupid. It's very easy to understand. Simple. Couldn't be easier. I saw those rankings come out. They all made sense to me. John Silver and Alex Reynolds are the number 2 tag team. They haven't lost this year. Yeah, they beat Colt Cabana and Brandon Cutler a couple of times in dark matches, but dark matches count. And why the hell shouldn't they? If something happens in an AEW ring, it counts. And you know what, Rich? I love that. I love that. I don't like how in WWE, if it doesn't happen on Raw, SmackDown, or pay-per-view, it doesn't count. What is that bullshit? Everything should count. I buy a ticket. I watch John Silver and Alex Reynolds beat Colt Cabana and Brandon Cutler. Now I know it means a little something. I'm not just watching a throwaway match. It might not mean a ton. But you know what it means? It means John Silver and Alex Reynolds, at least for January, when things are fresh, they're the number 2 contenders. And guess who wrestled Big Bill and Ricky Starks for Collision tomorrow, Rich? John Silver and Alex Reynolds.
Wow. So again, so my conspiracy theory is right. Wins. My conspiracy theory is right. These rankings are only being done to fit their narratives and to fit their stories. I can't believe it.
Who wants that?
They're
using these to create stories? Preposterous.
I just want stories to get created out of thin air for no reason. That's how my wrestling is supposed to be.
What they should do is go eat Chinese food with Ricky Starks and Big Bill.
Yes.
Complain that it's too spicy.
Owie, too spicy.
That's right.
And then we got a mash.
Right.
After the trampoline gym, of course.
Now, I will say those 6-man rankings are a little suspect. He didn't put the records next to people like they used to do.
No, I was a little disappointed by that. I was a little disappointed by that.
You know why? But see, I should like that because that makes people say even stupider things. Right? So if the records were there, people might be like, oh, it makes sense. Everybody's undefeated. But without the records, people really show their ass when they complain about these. And I like nothing more than people complaining about these rankings. It just fuels me. I love it. I can't get enough of it. It pleases me greatly when another person fails to understand these very simple rankings.
One of our great chat room guys, Jordan Smith, says, I can imagine anyone complaining about the rankings being too confusing, being the same people in infomercials that open a cabinet and everything falls out of it.
Yeah.
So good.
They go,
And he says, there has to be a better way. It's like, yeah, are you having trouble organizing your Tupperware? And then this guy opens his cabinet and they all fall on him and he goes, oh, man. It's like, introducing.
Yeah. And I'm going to pick on Dave Meltzer here because he complained that John Silver and Alex Reynolds were ranked number 2 in the rankings, but that FTR weren't ranked at all. Well, if you would take a look at the month of January, FTR has only wrestled 1 match.
Yes.
A match that they won, but they've only wrestled 1 match. And then they also lost a 6-man match and then won an elimination cage match. But in the tag team rankings, it would stand to reason that only that first tag team match on January 6th would count. Meanwhile, as I noted, Silver and Reynolds, I believe they're 3-0 on the month. So, and these people can't have it both ways. Sometimes they'll complain. Oh, well, how come a guy that's 7-4 is ranked ahead of a guy that's 9-0? It doesn't make sense. You have to explain to these people that the strength of the schedule matters, right? You have to explain that. But now we have Dave here complaining the opposite direction. He's saying that the Beaver Boy wins are dark matches and shouldn't outweigh the 1 FTR win. Well, which way is it? Are we doing winning percentage? Or are we doing, you can't complain both ways. And we hear that a lot too, where, again, looking for something to complain about. FTR's 1-0. Why should they be ranked?
Right. Get a few wins.
barely
They'll be
wrestle.
ranked. Get a few wins. They'll be ranked.
They'll be ranked. It's January. By fucking April, FTR will be fucking 7-1, and they'll be ranked every week. And the Beaver Boys will be, 3-11, and you'll never hear from them again. It's the first month. Rich, I love these rankings. I would like nothing more than to go through these rankings with a fine-tooth comb every single week and explain why they are all correct, right, and good.
Sounds like a good Patreon show. Sounds like a great Patreon show for you to do every week.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, that wouldn't be annoying at all. And, wouldn't fit my gimmick of finding something and just being so annoying about it,
yeah.
that even people who agree with me start to disagree with me because I'm so annoying about it. Like so maybe that's a good idea. Joe explains why the rankings are right. That's what I'll title it.
Every week.
So it pops up on the little Twitter feed there and works everybody up. And I will explain to you why the rankings are in fact perfect every single week. How about that? It's content. I'm a content creator.
You are a content creator. You do that. Grant Akuma brings up a great example here in the chat room as well. Now, New Japan doesn't do this. Grant Akuma.
I haven't seen him in a chat in ages.
Yeah, well, maybe he's always. I think he's a lurker.
Okay.
He plays his spots right. He knows when to make a big spot here and when to do a high spot.
That man understands rankings because he had Chikara tag tokens at times. You got to remember you had to earn the tokens.
Goddamn right, you had to earn tokens. Yeah, of all the places that got it, Chikara got it like the most right of anybody ever.
Yes. Fist. Man was a proud member of Fist.
Yes, he was a proud member of Fist. He says, imagine if New Japan Young Lions come back from excursion and had to overcome their Young Lion record before he could push them. Where Yota Tsuji right now is 131 and 325, so he'd need to be on quite the win streak to get back. He's at about a 200 match deficit, just a little under 200 match deficit for Yota Tsuji before he could finally get pushed. But yeah, that's why you have to reset things and need to.
I'm looking up Okada's record before he beat Tanahashi. Let's see.
Oh, not good. Do not. He was not successful.
Let's see.
I think it's going to be hard to do that.
For Okada. It's easy. No, it's very easy. I'll have it in less than a minute.
All right.
Time me. All right. So let's do singles matches. New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're good. All right. Now go over to page 3. Because remember, these New Japan guys don't wrestle a lot of singles matches, So, all right, here we go. Kazuchika Okada. 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4, 0-5, 0-6, 0-7, 0-8, 0-9, 0-10, 0-11, 0-12, 13, 14.
Well, I didn't think you were going to...
1-14. 1-14. Got subs a win. 1-14. 2-14. He owns this youngster Nobuo Yoshihashi. I wonder whatever happened to him.
Yeah.
2-14. Okay. 2-15. 2-16. 17. 18. 19.
It's still going, huh?
3-19.
When you said it was easy, I didn't think you were gonna just do all the numbers on the air. That's why.
Yeah, that's right.
I knew it wasn't gonna be easy. That you were just gonna sit here and say numbers
24,
for 5 minutes.
25, 26, 27. 5 and 27, 5 and 28, 6 and 28, 29, 30, 40, 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 and 48, 49,
I hate this so much.
8 and 49, 8 and 50,
please make this
51,
stop.
52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. 59.
So it wasn't easy. Will you admit this wasn't easy?
9 and 59.
Is that the final?
That's final. He was 9 and 59 when he beat Tanahashi. 9 and 59. You got to reset the records, people. You can't flash that up on the screen and say number one contender with a record of 9 and 59. You can't do it. Better yet, Rich, and here's circling back to my other point. He wouldn't be 9 and 59 because you'd be forced to push him properly.
Right.
Because people are seeing the record. That's why. Was that under a minute, by the way?
No, it was not. The initial, here, I got it, was under a minute. And then I stopped counting. And then you decided to count for about a minute and a half. And then, so no, it did not.
Listen, Mike Francesa is a multi-millionaire, and he has counted.
That is one thing that he is great to do. He is very good at counting.
Many times where he just counts on the air. And he just stops counting. You think he's done because it's silent, but he's counting in his head. And then he's still counting. So, I'm just following the greats.
And he's the sports pope. Yeah, he's the pope. So
he's the pope. So 9, 9, 59. And it landed on 9 and 59.
Which is perfect. Yeah, which is just perfect. All right,
so
that's it for the rankings. Keep an eye out for Joe Explains Why the AEW Rankings Are Right, coming up to a podcast feed near you very, very soon. But let's talk about AEW's lineup next week for Dynamite. You got a pretty big lineup plus a major announcement. So they're going to be in Phoenix next week. You got Chris Jericho versus Konosuke Takeshita. You have Hechicero, Mascara Dorada, Volador Jr. versus Blackpool Combat Club. Danielson, Claudio, and Moxley, 6-man tag. Ricky Starks and Big Bill defending the AEW World Tag Team titles against Darby Allin and Sting. And then Hangman Page versus Swerve for the number one contender of the AEW World title. Plus a major announcement from Tony Khan. That's a big boy show there next week on Dynamite.
So, it looks like the announcement's going to be Monday, as some news broke. Someone contacted me this afternoon and told me that AEW had booked a show in Boston for March. And we then took a look at the schedule, and the only open date is the March 13th Dynamite. That's the only date that AEW hasn't announced for any of their television in March. So I can't confirm it, but if this person's positive that AEW is running a show in March in Boston, it would have to be the Dynamite on the 13th. So then later Fightful reported, or Andrew Zarian reported through Fightful for some reason, that Monday is confirmed to be starting with AEW in March. So look, Boston in March. Now we know Monday's starting in March. We know they've booked a building in Boston. It would all add up to, it looks like Tony Khan's announcement could be that Monday is joining the company and that her first match is going to be March 13th, Dynamite in Boston, TD Garden Arena. It's sure all those clues add up to that.
It really does. Yeah, it all kind of adds up. And it seems like everybody's ready to sort of confirm. It looks like from a lot of the news reports that everyone's ready to confirm that she's going to be there as far as the exact date and whatnot. That like you might have to do a little bit of sleuthing or a little bit of assuming to get there.
Well, Zarian and Fightful flat out said she's starting in March.
Okay. So no, that's what I mean. Like people saying like the actual date and the Boston thing, right, and if that's what his announcement is or whatever. But it does feel like at this point, the Band-Aid's been ripped off. She's coming to AEW, right? Like that. It feels like we're at that point now where people are all but saying it.
She signed. I mean, I can't confirm she signed, but obviously she signed. And like I said, they booked a date for March. I think the only reason they haven't announced the 3/13 date is because they've been planning all along to announce that date in Boston in conjunction with signing Mercedes Moné, because she's from Boston, and debuting her there in that huge building. That's a big building. So, yeah, that's where the Celtics and Bruins play. So that's 20,000 seat building.
Oh yeah.
So she'll be tested right out of the gate if that in fact is the announcement. So it's sure leaning that way. But and then I think the Observer guys had that they were going to announce her Saturday, but then the Vince stuff happened and they didn't want it to get lost in the headlines. So they're going to do the big special announcement instead next week on Dynamite. Now, I also think that Dynamite is a very important Dynamite for Swerve Strickland. That has been a long build between him and Hangman, a prominent build, a good build, and Hangman's a star who's a proven draw, and Swerve is a guy who they want to get to that level. So this is a big match by television standards. It's been built well. They've had good matches in the past. There's no excuses here. This match should pop a rating. There's strong stuff around it on the rest of the show, so it's not like isolated on a bad show. You've got the Tony Khan major announcement. You've got Jericho Takeshita. You've got the tag team title match. Rich, there's like not one mitigating factor to say why Swerve and Hangman shouldn't draw. That match should draw. And if it doesn't, I can tell you right now, they're not blaming the Hangman. So this is a big match for the elevation of Swerve Strickland into that air of being one of the legit top guys in the company. This match has to pop a number. Agree or disagree?
Oh, absolutely. No, it absolutely does. It has to deliver. I think in ring it'll deliver. I have no doubt about that, given these guys' chemistry and given what these guys are capable of. But you're right; it needs to be a big money. It needs to draw attendance, and we can check in with the numbers here in a minute. I'll look them up, and it needs to draw ratings as well. And they've done a good job of telling you that this is a very important episode of Dynamite. But yeah, it's a matter of if those people are going to show up, and we can't come on here and talk about them having their 818,000 or whatever. It's got to be a little bit bigger than that. Got to be a little bit higher than that. It's got to tick up a little bit, because that's a pay-per-view level match again. Not necessarily maybe for the number one contenders, but Paige and Swerve, we've seen that on pay-per-views. It's a pay-per-view level match, been well built. It makes all the sense in the world that this should matter and should be something that does draw. So we'll see. But I agree. This is a big moment for a big, like you said, Swerve, because Paige is a made guy. We know what Paige has got. We know what he's made of. But as far as Swerve, this could be a big spot for him. And it does look like it is moving a decent amount of tickets right now. The current setup is 5,205 as per WrestleTix, by the way, patreon.com/WrestleTix. Distributed is 4,066. There's still about 1,000 tickets available right now, but they have sold about 500 since they last updated 6 days ago. And now that the full card is out there, you would hope that you get the whole building or what you're set up for. The 5,000, you should be able to hopefully get somewhere around there.
It's going to be the strongest Dynamite number in a long time as far as attendance goes. So, I expect a loaded show like that should do a rating. I mean, this week they did 818 and a 0.26. They have to beat that. There's no excuse.
They have to destroy it.
They have
not
to
destroy
it,
but they has to beat
not
that
destroy
handedly. It should beat it very much. It should very much beat it. Not even be neck and neck or close or anything. It should beat it by a good amount.
The Tony Khan announcements always pop a quarter, and I think that main event should pop a quarter, and everything else on the show is strong. I think the Sting title challenge is a really strong match. So I think you open with one of those things, you put one at the top of the hour, and you close with one of those. Those are the three. I think the Sting title match.
I'd start with the Sting tag match. That's what I would do, I think.
Yeah, and the announcement and then Hangman Swerve. Those get the three key quarters if I'm running things. But the rest of it's strong too. Jericho Takeshita is strong. What's the other match? It's the
CMLL versus Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, which is a very strong match. They might open with that, but it's this show has to do a number. This is one of those Dynamites that has to pop a number, or it's extremely. Sometimes you don't pop a number. It's like, all right, whatever. It's like this week's show. Look at that lineup. I mean,
that rating was what that lineup deserved.
And it was fine. There's nothing wrong with the rating. It's like, but this week has to pop a number. Now, there's people in the chat saying that they should do the Punk thing where they just announce that the Boston show and then hint at Monday. I wouldn't do that. I don't think that's a good idea.
She's not that level.
She's not CM Punk coming back after 7 years, guys.
She wasn't CM Punk before she left either. I mean,
yeah, correct. So it's like, I don't do it that way. I come out if that in fact is the announcement, if she signed and this is the bundle announcement that I think it might be, I announced that I have signed her. I announced that her debut is in 6 weeks or whatever it is in TD Garden Arena in Boston, Massachusetts. Get your tickets now before they're gone. And I push that shit for 6 weeks and I scream her name on every episode of television. I don't get cute. I'm not getting cute with this one.
No, you could play around with the Punk thing because you knew what that was going to do, and you knew that people were going to know what was going on, and that people were going to. I mean, it's Punk after all that. I mean, he became a bigger star away from wrestling because he was away from wrestling. You know what I mean? Like that
was one of the great moments in modern wrestling history.
Yeah, you can't recreate that with
I don't think these things equate. I don't think they equate. Now look, Okada hasn't signed yet. Maybe you fold him and make it announce you signed both of them and they're both debuting. When's his those matches are in February.
Those matches are in
Sapporo
February.
shows.
Yeah. So he's officially done now. But so you could announce him now if you needed to. But he's got those matches in February. But that's fine. You debut him in March.
No,
that's
those
fine.
are as a freelancer. Those are freelancer matches. He can sign with any company he wants, and he can wrestle in any company he wants tomorrow. Okay.
He's on Rampage.
I'm saying
he's on. Are you officially declaring that he is on Rampage this week? No, I'm sorry, Collision, because they already taped Rampage. We would know that.
Don't aggregate me. No, but he can sign and show up. But the thing is, maybe he doesn't want to fly back and forth from Japan, United States. So, but if you really want to get crazy, maybe he debuts both of them in Boston and fills that fucker up. And makes it a huge Dynamite. Look. We knew Tony had shit up his sleeve the way he's been tweeting. We've been talking about this, Rich. It's going to be a great 2024.
He's been puffy-chested. He's been very puffy. Yeah.
And we know, look, we have a good read on this guy by now after all these years. We knew he had something up his sleeve. The question is, how much does he have up his sleeve? Someone told me today, not today, someone told me, I can't even keep track of the days. Someone told me, and I quote, Tony Khan will not be outbid for Okada, end quote. Simple state. He will not be outbid. He might not get Okada. Please understand what I'm saying. But he will not be outbid for Okada. If Okada goes to WWE, he's taking the lesser money offer. Because Tony Khan is not going to be outbid for Okada. So we'll see. If it's all about money for the Rainmaker, he's going to be in AEW. So, but I do think my gut is telling me the announcement is going to be, we've signed Mercedes Moné, who they were going to announce last week, allegedly, and you can come see her in Boston in 6 weeks. Get your tickets now.
Yeah.
That's what I think it's going to be. We'll see.
But it's a big boy Dynamite. So we'll people have been asking, are you guys going to do an instant reaction live for it? We don't know just yet. We'll see what schedules play out. But yeah, I mean,
listen,
wouldn't mind.
Not to bury the captain, but it's really up to him. I have to review it either way. So it's, the problem is I have to watch it live and I never watch it live. That's the only thing.
It kind of changes. Yeah, it changes when we watch that show because I don't watch it live either.
Yeah, if we do it, I just got to watch it live. That's all.
But it's a big boy show. It's a big boy show. Usually I reserve these for the ones that they brand, winter is coming, whatever, those sort of things. I'll usually do those. But I don't know. It's a big boy show. So we'll
see. We'll see. I like to watch it after everyone goes to bed. I like to cook dinner, for my wife and everything, typically on a weekday, But, I could order a pizza. I could make it work.
Get some wings in there and watch it.
Yeah,
but,
hand her a microwave meal. Here. Tonight you're having a smart one. Enjoy.
Right. A Swanson's. They don't make Swanson's anymore, do they?
Bon appetit.
Yeah.
No,
smart
she likes
ones.
those smart ones.
Because they're like 100. They're like 80. They're like 600 calories or whatever.
It's it's like chicken Alfredo, and somehow it's 60 calories. You're like, how the fuck?
Like, this can't be good. What is in this? Right? There's nothing resembling food in this thing. It's just
there's no Alfredo. Like, there's no way. That's one of the fattiest sauces on earth. How is this 60 calories? What does this consist of? Something you probably shouldn't be eating, right?
Yeah, whatever devil. Right. Yeah, I'm looking at their chicken fettuccine is 300 calories. Get out of here. Get out of here. How is their chicken and also fettuccine Alfredo? Like, no, get out of here. Yeah. Get out of here with that. It's ridiculous.
Or my other move too, when I know I got something coming up in the week and I don't want to, I know there's a night where it's going to be tricky to cook. What I'll do is make a huge pasta dinner the night before, and then it's leftovers for the next 2 days. Yeah. Because that never all gets eaten in one day. Pound of fucking pasta, 20 meatballs, package of sausage, So I could pull that move too.
That's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, we'll see. We'll figure it out.
It'll get discussed.
People have asked, and we know. We hear you. We got you. But we'll see what ends up happening with that. Joe, we are on the road to WrestleMania. Michael Cole squealed that at me during the Royal Rumble. And with that means we are on the road to WrestleMania weekend as well. And I talked about it at the top of the show. You have disowned WrestleMania weekend several years ago. You decided this thing is shit. This is dumb. I don't like this anymore. It's awful. I wish you would stop talking about it. I wish you'd stop previewing it on this podcast. I wish we could just ignore it all the way. But we don't, and we can't. But maybe we should. And I've always said that Voices of Wrestling, this podcast, we cover WrestleMania weekend like nobody else. We do it better than anybody else. I might have to give it up this year. I think it's over. I think it's officially done and dead and buried and never needs to be spoken about ever again. I'm not doing the preview podcast I usually do. No, those are done. Those are done. I'm done. I can't do them this year. I can't do them this year.
You're out.
I can't do them this
year.
You're
out. You're tapping out.
I'm tapping out. I can do one very long episode where I preview this stuff. I'm not doing the gimmick we've done over the last couple of years where I'll bring on various Voices of Wrestling contributors and they'll help me preview the different shows. And it takes like 14 hours to record all these episodes of audio and put them all together and ends up being a 4-part, 9-hour, gigantic WrestleMania weekend preview. Done. Not doing it. This weekend doesn't deserve it. These promoters don't deserve it. Maybe one of these years I'll get a thank you from one of them, but I haven't yet. So, no, I'm done. Get someone else to talk about your dumb shows. I'm out.
Not so secretly sassy.
Nah, I'm out. Gringo Loco, he thanked me. He's a good one. But everybody else.
Yeah, Gringo Loco. Shout out. Good man. Hey, Blue Meanie, too.
Yeah, Blue Meanie. Blue Meanie and Gringo Loco. The only two guys that have ever said thank you.
Blue Meanie, classy gent. Always respected him.
The rest of these guys.
Historian.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he's one of those Philly dudes who would drive to Memphis to go to the Saturday TVs and the Monday Coliseum shows as like a teenager.
Really? That's awesome.
There's a whole group of them. I think he was one of them. But if he wasn't, I'm giving him some fake clout anyway.
That's fine. Yeah, he deserves it. Yeah, it's Blue Meanie. He deserves it. He was nice. He was nice in the DMs this week. Getting a
How long is it from Philly to Memphis? Let's see how long that drive is.
That cannot be. I mean, shit.
Probably not as long as you think.
Really? Because for me to Memphis is, but I guess Memphis is probably a lot further east than I'm giving it credit for. I've actually never driven to Memphis. I've always wanted to.
I'll look it up. You guess, and I'll look it up.
Philly to Memphis. I'm going to say that is 7 hours.
How long?
7. Well, no. Hold on a minute. Give me 9. Give me 9 hours.
It's 15.
Holy shit. Okay.
It was longer than I thought.
Because I was going to say, I think it's 8 from Chicago to Memphis.
Memphis is on the other side of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Near Arkansas.
Yeah.
Right across the river from Arkansas. Right by Mississippi.
Yeah, let's say Knoxville. Yeah, that's a lot of hours. That's a couple hours even away from Knoxville. So yeah, that's going to be a while. That's a long ass drive, man. Shit. Good for him if he was doing that.
They used to make it. I'll find out exactly who they were by next week because there was that whole group of Philly guys who then later on, became ECW guys. You know what I mean?
That's fucking nuts. Yeah.
It's shorter for me. It's about 9 hours to Memphis for me, and that makes sense because when I moved here, I did the drive in 2 days, and we stopped in Memphis to do Memphis shit, slept there, and then made the rest of the trip the next day. So that makes sense. About 15 hours to get there. 16 for me, giving me another, and then the next day we was a straight shot. So 8 hours is 9 hours pushed it. I tried to do Louisiana. I tried to do New Orleans that one year, drive there and drive back in the same day. And
that didn't go
I couldn't do it. I had to stop and sleep. I couldn't do it. On the way back, I was just falling asleep. And that's a shorter drive. So anyway, what the hell are we talking about? Oh, WrestleMania weekend and how bad it is.
It's
all right, so you're not doing the previews.
I'm not doing the previews.
Well, I do the thing where I hunker down, watch every single show, and then do audio every night.
You know what? I will still do that. I think reacting to these shows is fine, and I still want to commit to doing that. I know we split it up a little bit last year. I'm fine still doing that. If you're down.
I thought I did all of it.
No, I did DDT and a few other shows that you said I'm going to do all these, and then I said, hey, which ones are you not going to do? And I'll try to watch those. So I did like a DDT show and a couple other ones. So,
well, let's do that. You want to commit to that, or are they so bad you can't even commit to that?
Well, when we get closer to the weekend, we can discuss.
Actually, hold on. Maybe I don't want to commit to that because
I think you want to. Yeah. I think you might want to. Rethink that. It's all right.
Well, how bad are these? Walk me through it because I haven't even looked at it. Because you know what's amazing? it's a WrestleMania weekend in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
which if this were 5 years ago,
You'd be there.
right? Pre-pandemic for sure. Fuck, man. I'd so be there because I could just drive back and forth every day. Wouldn't need a hotel. You know? It'd be a lock. I'm not even considering going.
At no
to
point
this.
did you consider
It's
going
not
to
even
this.
a thought in my brain that I'm considering going to this. So that should tell you all you need to know. And I haven't even really looked at the schedule. I can only assume Game Changer Wrestling has about 18 shows, and there's 45 ECW reunion.
There is
tribute.
a lot of ECW tribute shows. We of course do the schedule at voiceswrestling.com thanks to Griffin Peltier, who does a great job compiling that list. He is committed to trying to review as many of these things as well, written reviews at voicesofwrestling.com. So God bless him. But yeah, so first off, it starts on Monday, by the way, with H2O Wrestling.
Oh,
It's
you're
now,
kidding me.
yeah, and that's on independentwrestling.tv in Williamstown,
Oh,
New
we gotta cover
Jersey.
that one.
So I don't know if you're counting that as Philly. I don't know my New Jersey to Philly and where
Wait, where is it?
Williamstown, New Jersey.
Yeah, that's fake. That's fake South Jersey.
Okay, all right. Because I don't know where
Williams.
I don't know where it lies. I don't really get the East Coast geography all that well, but there you go. So it starts on Monday.
Well, Williamstown. Am I thinking of the right place here? Let me Google this shit. I don't think I've ever heard. Okay, that is a fucking hike.
So is that a
From
loose? That's a loose Philly.
It's like halfway between Philly and Atlantic City. It's not like right across the river, if that's what people are thinking. That is in, like, that's in the part of New Jersey where people from New Jersey don't consider you from New Jersey, if that makes any sense.
It's like too rural, or what is it? What's the deal?
Yeah, because there's the South. Okay, South Jersey, that's away from the ocean and closer to Pennsylvania. That part of South Jersey is fake Jersey. Like, if you say you're from Cumberland County, we're just like, oh, you're not really from New Jersey. I don't want to talk to you. You don't count. Like, people haven't even heard of the towns down there. Like, those people watch NASCAR. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, I got you.
Like, because NASCAR is not like a northern thing at all. Like, but they're kind of like Delaware people. I'll leave it at that. You know, they're not. You might even catch some Confederate flags in that part of Jersey.
I got you.
On a
Yeah,
rare
there's
occasion.
parts of Michigan that you drive through and you're very parts of Illinois, parts of Michigan, parts of any town that's
Yeah. So if someone's like, I'm from Bridgeton, you're like, oh, never mind.
right.
We have nothing in common. Like, you know, you like might be an Orioles fan or something. You know, like, I don't have nothing in common with you. Anyway, yeah. So
You got
that
back to
show is
back.
like,
You got Monday and Tuesday H2O Wrestling. They don't have anything announced, so don't worry about it. Nothing to worry about there. Then we start in earnest on Wednesday with Labor and Love and Shawn Henderson presents Wrestle John. And there's nothing on there. Don't worry about it. Mike Bailey versus Paul London. Does that work for you?
that's Tuesday.
That's Wednesday. That's Wednesday.
Where is it airing?
It is airing. Yes. IndependentWrestling.tv.
We got to cover this shit. What'd you say Tuesday was?
Tuesday's the H2O wrestling thing. We can.
I thought that was Monday.
They're Monday and Tuesday. Monday, the Hustle Cup number 4 is on Tuesday, and Monday Night Death Volume 5 is on Monday.
Are they marketing that as WrestleMania weekend?
I don't know if they are or we are, but you know what?
That's like.
Well, actually, you know
real-
what? You know what? I think they are, because the H2O Wrestling Center is hosting a lot of WrestleMania weekend stuff, including on Wednesday, April 3rd, Intergender Bonanza 19 Cream Mania. I know you're ready for that one.
Oh God!
Marcus Mathers versus Effie for the IGB Super Title, starting us off.
It's not even intergender.
Look, I don't know. Talk to Intergender Bonanza 19 Cream Mania. I don't fucking know. Thursday, Defy. They don't have anything announced. Move
if
on.
I go to Intergender Cream Mania, I expect an intergender match.
Well, you
on
get
top.
Marcus Mathers and Effie, and you enjoy it.
Well, I don't enjoy it.
Okay.
You can't make me enjoy it, Rich.
Labor of Love and Shawn Henderson presents Euphoria. That's on 1 p.m. on Thursday. Stardom. They're there. So at least we got a big promotion there on Thursday. Stardom.
Stardom?
Yeah, nothing announced. American Dream 2024. Nothing announced. 2300 arena.
Whose venue are they running?
2300. They're in the 2300.
So who's got that venue? WrestleCon does, right?
WrestleCon. WrestleCon is 2300.
Yeah, WrestleCon.
Thank God.
What venue did Game Changer get?
Game Changer is going to be at the auditorium at Penn's Landing Caterers.
The world famous auditorium at Penn's Landing Caterers. Okay.
Right? Did you and your friends drive to the auditorium at Penn's Landing Caterers or no?
Never took a trip there in my youth.
No. Okay. Christopher Columbus Boulevard, by the way. Christopher Columbus Boulevard.
In Philly.
Yeah.
So Stardom's affiliated with WrestleCon.
Correct.
So our boy Viper's going to book some Stardom matches for the Hitchcock show, right?
Probably. Yeah. So far, one has...
Mystico, right?
Scheduled to appear Mystico, Rob Van Dam, Masato Tanaka, Mike Bailey, Savio Vega, Jose Estrada, Miguel Perez Jr., and Hurricane Castillo Jr.
Yeah, that's interesting. Getting the Puerto Ricans up there, huh?
Is that the market where it's like, all right, look, we can't do. There's no old white dudes anymore. Nobody cares anymore. We've exhausted the ECW people. Fine, let's go with Los Boricuas. That's the nostalgia.
Why are you
going
besmirching 1993 ECW legend Miguel Perez Jr.?
You're right. He was an ECW legend.
Why are you doing that?
You're right.
That's right smack where Jovember is right now, and he's tearing it up, by the way. You may continue.
So you got WrestleCon, you got 5 Star Wrestling, and they're running the Monster Factory. The Monster Factory's got a bunch of stuff going on that weekend as well.
Makes sense.
DDT is going to be there. They're with GCW as usual. You got Action Wrestling and Skona Kaeda with their Dean show. That should be pretty good. That one will have some care to it and some thought into it. So I'm excited about that one.
What's it go head to head with?
That one goes head to head with DDT.
I'll watch Dean.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now WrestleCon, the Super Show is at 7 as well. So and Dean's at 8. So you're gonna have a little bit of.
So it goes against WrestleCon.
You're gonna have a little bit of a tough one there.
You know the worst thing about these newfangled WrestleMania weekends is there's like 3 good shows and they always go head to head.
Right, and then the rest of the weekend is dog shit that you're just nothing's on. Yes.
It's infuriating because I have to have audio up.
Jersey Championship Wrestling is back again. JCW and GCW versus the world this time. Remember last year there was that Jersey Championship Wrestling versus GCW show that you buried. Now they're teaming together to face the world. That was last year, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the 18 people there didn't understand what was going on.
Right, they tried to play like Jersey Championship Wrestling angles and stuff, and nobody knew what the fuck was going on. Friday, Tokyo Joshi Pro is there. They're linked up with GCW, obviously with the DDT connection there. Yeah. Battleground Championship Wrestling. Now, this is the one you were looking for. Battleground Championship Wrestling, Born to Die, 1 p.m. at the 2300 Arena. They got a full-ass show, man, all announced. Now, the problem is the main event is Brian Kendrick versus Lindsay Dorado.
Oh, I thought it was a death match. That's not a death match promotion? No, it's not.
Battleground is not. Battleground's not.
No. That's the main event?
That's the main event. That's their world title.
It's a nice little match. Nice little match.
Right. That's the state of this weekend.
It'll be pretty good.
That's the state of this weekend right now. Brian Kendrick, Lindsay Dorado is your main event for that one. Progress, they're coming for some fucking reason. Chapter 165, Freedom Walks Again. They have announced so far Session Martina versus TBA. That's all we got. Buy your tickets now.
I hope it's Gene Money. I hope it's Gene Money with the tape over his tits. That's who I hope it is against Session Moth Martina.
Wrestling Revolver and House of Glory are going to be there. They're running at the Trinity Center for Urban Youth, and I won't lie, they actually have a pretty good card. This is actually a show that I'm looking forward to. Mustafa Ali and Amazing Red will be facing off with each other, and then for the House of Glory title and the Revolver title, Santana versus Alex Shelley. So that's all right. I'll take that one.
That looks good. I know it's early. Does Mustafa Ali have a lot of bookings? Because he could be the wrestler of the weekend.
He has, Joe, he has one booking so far against Amazing Red at Wrestling Revolver House of Glory.
A lot of these shows don't have lineups, though.
No, nobody's got anything. We're not that far away. So I think we need to start getting things going a little bit, guys, because I'm not going to lie, there's not a whole lot going on here. Joey Janela Spring Break 8 is back. Spring Break is back with their 8th. They got Masato Tanaka and Minoru Suzuki versus Rina Yamashita and Masha Slamovich. No, thank you. Not interested.
Oh, my God, that sucks.
What a waste of Masato Tanaka.
What a waste of Masato Tanaka and Minoru Suzuki. Just an absolute, utter waste. Gross.
Then you got the show for you, Joe. You got to sponsor this. I think Joe Vember to Remember has to sponsor this one. Battleground Championship Wrestling, a tribute to Extreme 2. I guess they did another one some other time. Tajiri versus Super Crazy. Too Cold Scorpio versus Juventud Guerrera. Al Snow versus Shane Douglas with Francine. Team 3D, Bully Ray and Devon versus Atsushi Onita and TBA. Street Fight Dabaldis versus the Pitbull Revolution. And a mystery special guest referee of Bill Alfonso versus Joel Gertner. Now that's a WrestleMania weekend show.
What's the date on that show?
That show is going to be on the Friday, April 5th. Friday, April 5th at 7 p.m.
I'll pretend you said the 18th.
Oh. Is it? Is that him? I didn't know that was him.
Rich.
Damn it.
They continue.
Damn it. The one show I got excited about, Joe. God damn it. All right. Man. For the Culture's back is at 11:59 p.m. on a Friday. It's the worst time.
Oh, great slot for the Culture.
Right. That one year they give it the good slot, and then every time otherwise, like, no, yeah, For the Culture. You guys are on at, we're going to run late. Our prior 5 shows are all going to run really late. So you guys could start, I don't know, like 1:15 a.m. And yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, but like last year, that show sucked, though. Like,
yeah, it was not
they
good.
dropped the ball on it real bad. You know, like, so I don't know, but we'll see.
Effie's Big Gay Brunch is back.
I would assume that's around 11 a.m.
That is 11 a.m. on Saturday, April 6th.
See, now that's a brunch. That's a brunch.
That is brunch.
You got to schedule, and they always do, right there at 11 a.m.
R.I.P. Pancakes and Pile Drivers, though, including the one year where they didn't have pancakes. But that's all right.
Right. Yeah, the year I was there.
Right. You didn't go to that show, though, right?
Wanted some fucking pancakes. I did go to
that show. Did go to that show. You didn't get any fucking pancakes, right?
I didn't get any pancakes. That was in
New York.
I went to the one in New York. I don't think it had pancakes. I don't know.
No, I think that was the famous one that did not have pancakes. Yeah. Kaiju Big Battle is coming, but this is all wrong. Saturday, April 6th at noon, Kaiju Big Battle. You cannot watch Kaiju Big Battle at noon.
Why
that is not a noon show? What are we doing here?
That's the midnight show.
That's the midnight show. That's you're either delirious or you're high or you're drunk. You can't be of right mind and watch Kaiju Big Battle. You're gonna miss the point.
Yeah.
But regardless,
For the Culture should be at noon, and
right,
Kaiju Big Battle should be. I don't know if it's the same venue though, same promoters.
Clusterfuck Forever. Joey Janela is doing a Joey Janela Spring Break Clusterfuck Forever match. It is 88 men are going to be in this Clusterfuck match.
So that's the whole show.
Yeah, I assume so.
I think he's going to get those Ugandan kids in here now.
He better. Yeah. Oh, you know what? We can make that happen. We can.
That's right up Joey's alley.
We could absolutely make that happen. It would not take that long. Yeah, that is absolutely. If I send him this match tonight, we can get those guys booked by the end of February for sure.
No, well, Janela is on top of everything.
Jelly Nutella. He's fat, right?
Janela's on top of it, so that match will come across his desk. But you probably should just.
I'm just going to send it to him anyway and get these guys booked and on a flight ready to go because those guys will be there for sure.
I mean, before Great Power Uti killed his wife.
Why did I laugh? Why did I laugh at that? I should laugh at that. We were going to go to that. We were going to go to that estate. I was going to be at that estate with you.
I know. We were going to go swim in his pool. Remember? He asked us to come over.
Yeah.
He said, "I'll show you my sports cars and you can swim in my pool." And I was like, "That sounds like a
you
great
and I
time.
Looked at each other. Yeah, right? You and I talked about it. And I was like, I mean, who says no? I'm not saying no.
Yeah. But then what people don't know is we nearly brokered him into a clusterfuck.
Yes.
We nearly brokered that, but then they found the remains of his wife in his closet. So I wouldn't hold your breath on. He could be in prison for all we know.
We haven't heard from the Power Uti in a while,
No.
so I was gonna say I hope he's doing well, but I don't know. I guess it depends what the result of the investigation was.
88-man clusterfuck is a very specific number. How does he know he's gonna book exactly 88 guys? You know what I mean? Like, why'd he pick that number? It's weird. Why not 100? Why not 75?
I don't know.
Strange.
Then Sunday, you got Spark Joshi, Ruthless Pro Wrestling. I don't know what the hell that is, but Ruthless Pro Wrestling. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. And yeah, well.
Sunday, huh?
We got to do it.
We doing anything after Mania on Sunday?
After Mania on Sunday. So the clusterfuck is after Mania on Saturday. After Mania on Sunday, no, everyone's done.
When's spring break? Thursday?
Spring break is on... Scrolling. That is on Friday. That's on Friday.
All right.
Friday.
When's so we're gonna do Supercard of Honor? Is there gonna be
nothing announced just yet? So hopefully that's not the major announcement, because that would be a bit of a bummer if he's like, I know you've all been wondering.
Yeah.
It's been on everyone's mind. It's been rumored about. Everyone's going to the dirt sheets and talking about it. Yes, ROH Supercard of Honor will be at WrestleMania weekend this week. Thank you very much.
I wonder where he'd run. Maybe Trenton. That little building in Trenton that WWE used to do house shows in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe listen, get the Palestra, right? College Basketball Cathedral. Or maybe do that building on Temple's campus, the whatever the fuck that's called.
They've done that before, right? Didn't they do that one before?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Yeah. Well, we'll
that's
find out.
Weekend.
I mean, that'll
so.
Yeah, the Lacarius Center or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've done that one for a while.
So hopefully they run. That'll beef it up a little. Right?
It needs it. Not a lot of matches. I went through the entire list there, and I'm not going through all the matches, and I missed some of the shows. I went through the entire list earlier today to pick out the matches that are my favorite. And I had Ali versus Amazing Red, and then the Team 3D versus Onita and TBA. And I know that the Team 3D versus Onita match is going to suck. I just kind of want to see it. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need the rest of it. I got no need for.
I don't know. It didn't sound as dire as you made it out to be.
I also, here, you want me to name all the shows? I didn't name all the shows, sir.
No. Please don't.
I can name all of the shows. I skipped.
Those were the highlights.
I gave you the highlights, sir.
My expectations are on the floor, though. I mean, so there's that too. But yeah, I'm sure there's a ton of
Combat Fights Unlimited, Fight Night, No Escape, Eat the Turnbuckle, the Final Battle Royal Bloodbath, 5-Star Wrestling, We Are 5-Star. Progress. I already did Progress. I buried them. All for One, the Wrestling Independent. All for One, Pro Wrestling 1CW. All for One, 3 Legacies Wrestling. ICW No Holds Barred 61 International Death Summit. All for One, Atlantic All-Star Wrestling. Are you done? Have you decided? The Anthology, Thrash Alvania, NXT Stand and Deliver.
Thrash Alvania.
Combat Zone's running. We don't know what time or where they are, or what they're doing, but they're running.
CZW.
They haven't announced a date or a time or a location, but God damn it, they're running, I guess. Spark Josie, Trailblaze 2024, Ruthless Pro Wrestling, Mia Sma or something. I don't know. Fuck off. Who cares? And then you got WrestleMania in there. Big Dan Champion's 40th birthday bash. Dr. Fisher's Medical Weight Loss and Aesthetic Centers presents Meanie Mania. Cheap Heat Live. Wrestling Nightclub Philadelphia 21 Plus. Wally Mania. Jeff Hardy in concert. Are you good? Do you need more?
Jeff Hardy in concert.
The Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, Live 19 in Philly. Ready to Rumble, a wrestling-themed dance party and hangout.
What?
Jimmy's Famous Seafoods, The Tail Goat, Philly Tailgates, WrestleMania XL Night One Tailgate. The Laps Fans, Bozos, Biceps, and Bullshit Brunch. Jimmy's Seafoods Tailgoat number 2. You good?
Oh, 2 Jimmy Seafood tailgates.
Goats. Tailgoats.
Tailgoats.
Thank you.
A little steak and lobster.
You're getting hot dogs Fucker, they ain't bringing lobster to that
Give me
tailgate.
seafood.
Maybe a lobster roll. You might get a lobster roll out of that thing. You ain't getting a lobster.
Crab legs?
Yeah.
Snow crab?
I don't think you're
Snow crab?
I don't think you're getting snow crab. I don't know about that. Or king crab. I'm thinking of king crab. You're not getting king crab. You might get snow crab. Maybe some snow crab.
Snow crab, $11.99 a pound. I think that's what it is this week down here. King crab, though.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
$29.99 a pound.
It's too daunting, too. It's too big. Scary.
Yeah, you know, the problem with the king crab, sometimes the shell gets a little pliable, and it's like, it's not easy to crack.
You're
it's
bleeding.
Like
you're fucking, your hand's bleeding when you're done.
Yeah,
You're like,
you
I don't really want this anymore.
Right. Yeah. I gotta be, I prefer the flavor of snow crab anyway. King crab's like buttery or something.
I
you know what I mean? Like I prefer the flavor of snow crab. There's nothing like, I'll tell you, there's nothing like cracking a snow crab leg and pulling it all out on one pull.
Oh, you feel so good. You're so accomplished. It's like peeling an orange in one.
Yeah.
And you know what's happening, and you're like, oh no, come on. And then it's all out, and you're like, yes.
It's all the technique. You got to go slow, but not too slow, right? And then it comes out, and you just look. You don't even want to eat it at that point. You're like, look how perfect this looks. You show it off to the table. No one cares. Not a single person at the table gives a shit. But you're so excited. You dip it in the butter. You drag it through the drawn butter. And you almost feel bad eating it. I got to get some snow crab. I just worked myself up.
Yeah, it sounds really good, man. Yeah.
To a fucking tizzy here with the snow crab.
I will conclude our WrestleMania weekend thing with Griffin, who obviously puts together the WrestleMania weekend schedule, with this. So he says, quote, so CCW gave coordinates for their show, but it points to someone's house, so who knows?
That sounds about right.
That's perfect. What a way to wrap it up.
Sounds about right.
They give coordinates for a show. It's just some dude's house. WrestleMania weekend.
They gave coordinates for a show, not an address. I mean, what the fuck?
But it doesn't point to an arena. It just points to...
Probably a meth lab.
It probably is. I'm so disappointed. The only show I was looking forward to was,
Jesse Pinkman will be tearing the tickets at that one.
All right, let's, we got a couple minutes here. Well, actually, we got about a half hour, or 20 minutes. Let's talk about this Ugandan wrestling match. I'm ready to talk about this thing. First off, let me send this to Joey while we're doing this.
Yeah, you got to send it.
I'm doing it right now. Since I have the link ready to go, let me just send it.
You got to tell him it's now a 90-man clusterfuck.
Yeah.
That's what you got to send with that message. When's the next Joe Eats? All right. Well, I'm sticking with the. I'm doing every wing in the city, so, I could have one out next week. I think. Listen, I gotta pace myself. I can't be eating buffalo wings 3 times a week here. You know, I'm a savage, but I'm not that much of a savage. We send this to Joey or what?
Sent. Yep. I says, you now have a 90-man clusterfuck, Joey. You got to book these dudes, Boss Jordan and Kapita.
Yes.
Or Kapika, I think is. So I sent him the link.
Well, hopefully those guys don't kill their wives. And
then we can get it,
out.
And then they'll show up in the clusterfuck. And yeah.
So this Ugandan wrestling, these two guys, listen, like I said, high-level backyard wrestling. The execution of the offensive moves, they make it look so easy. It's like, what the fuck are we doing in the performance center? Send everyone to Uganda.
That was my exact quote. Is like, okay, why do the indies look like shit and NXT looks like shit, and these guys are out here doing perfect go to sleeps, perfect clotheslines. That double clothesline is fucking incredible that they do here. The strikes are good, maybe a little too good, Good strikes,
a little
potatoes, but you know what? That's all right. Stan Hansen did throw perfect strikes, but
that's right. Yeah, you see, it's very clear they're watching WWE and AEW moves, and they're just doing those moves. Like, yeah. But that one dude, he hit the other dude with Daniel Garcia's gimmick where he does the fireman's carry into the knee strike to the face. I thought he caved his face in.
I thought so too.
I mean,
he may have, but it looked great.
They're doing V triggers. They're doing every hot move you could think of, and they're doing them well.
They do it really well. And by the way, for people that have not watched this video, I've linked it in the chat, and I'll link it in the show notes as well, because it's very hard to find. You have to look for Soft Ground Uganda is the name of their Soft Ground Wrestling in Uganda is the name of the promotion. Their YouTube channel is called Soft Ground. So if you look up Soft Ground Wrestling Uganda, you'll be able to find it. But it's called Royal Rumble 2024 Results WWE. So I think they're trying to SEO game the system, which they don't have to.
Smart. Very smart.
I get it. Maybe put that in the description or something like that. But they it's getting some views, it's getting some buzz, and they deserve it, because it's gonna be hard to find. If you don't know, they are wrestling on the ground. They have basically there's a field, there's a ring that's essentially just a patch of dirt. There's bamboo that is set up as the turnbuckles, and then there's like a rope that is set up as the ropes or whatever. And there's a bunch of people around the ring. There's a ring announcer who's better than every ring announcer in WWE right now, by the way. They could hire her tomorrow, and she'd be better than all the other Samantha Irvins.
Well,
and all.
that's what's funny. The guys in the matches are clearly just copying the moves they see on TV, and she's copying Samantha Irvin with the ring announcing.
Yeah.
So, they're watching this stuff and they're just biting off it. Then the one guy get introduced and they're doing the Seth Rollins song.
Right. Boss Jordan. They're doing the Seth Rollins song for Boss Jordan, I believe.
Yeah. And then he won it with the curb stomp, with Rollins curb stomp. The offensive executions. Now look, they're just doing shit to each other.
They're just doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. They're just everything we used to do in the backyard, right? When we were kids, except they're doing it like, they're better than a lot of indie wrestlers I see.
Yes.
These guys.
And they weren't dorks like me. I don't know if you did this when you fought with your friends, but I like had psychology in it. I was like, no, we can't go to the high spots already. Because that's the kind of kid I was.
Right.
Like my friends were like, I'll do the pedigree. And I'm like, no, you gotta come on, man. You gotta
work up to that.
You gotta work up to that. I'm like, you gotta start watching your Dean Malenko tapes. And they're like, all right, you're annoying. I'm not gonna play with you anymore. I'm like, come on, we gotta, this thing's you gotta build up to the moment. You can't just go with the high spots right away. Not these guys. This bell rings and they're at it right away. They're fry Takayama right out of the gates, and then they're doing shit. But man, they do shit pretty damn good. I can't get over that double clothesline. That was my favorite double clothesline I've ever seen.
Yeah, they look, and the fans were hot. And it was like a multi-camera shoot. They edited that together. Did you notice that?
It looked better, and it sounded better than most indies as well. Because I watched a lot of indies over the last week, and I'm not going to lie. You guys got to catch up to Soft Ground Wrestling in Uganda, because that looked pretty damn good.
It was a multi-camera shoot, and then the match ends, and then the two guys do the run-in at the end, and the one guy does like a Randy Orton gimmick because he's doing the RKOs. And then the other guy came in and was just fucking throwing people. The guy that did the run-in at the end.
Yeah.
And then I guess they were building to the next
I can't
match.
Wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. So you got to have a smile on your face when you're watching it. It was just enjoyable to watch. These guys, I guess they're kids. Maybe young. What do you think? Maybe late teens, early 20s?
I don't know. So I tried to ask. Yeah. I'm trying to reach out to these guys. So I commented on one of their YouTube videos. By the way, these dudes are going to get points at the clusterfuck. I'm going to make it happen. But I commented on the YouTube video, and they said, glad you enjoyed it, Voices of Wrestling. These are African boys who adore wrestling, and they live up to it. Please share their videos, and thanks for the advice. Shall always keep up your advice. So I try to figure out what these guys are. I mean, I would guess late teens. I would guess somewhere in like the 17, 18, 19 range, somewhere around there.
Maybe 17 to 21 or something like that. But man, they're self-trained. They were taking very good flat back bumps. They weren't hitting their head on the ground or anything like that. It's like a burned out patch of grass with, like you said, the bamboo corner post. And the one corner has a ladder on it so they can jump off the top.
Which they do. Which they do.
And he ate it on that missed splash. He fucking ate it. They take some bumps in this fucking match. A ring would be far more, it'd be a fucking luxury to these guys. So, it was a lot of fun. And they're out there clearly having the times of their lives and everything with the ring announcer and the fans chanting and all that. So, I think this is something that's going to make the rounds. We'll see if it jumps the shark or not, but it's definitely something fun to watch. We got that room in our Discord, Rest of the World Wrestling. All kinds of wacky shit comes up in there. So if you're in the Discord, check out that room because, it's Griffin again. He's always digging that crazy shit up. So,
Yeah, I don't know where this one. I don't know where this one came from. I don't know who found this one first, but I'm glad they.
Well, that fucking Royal Rumble 2024 results. People are gonna find it.
I suppose. Yeah, that's.
It's like, it's very smart to put that on there.
Yeah, but there's wrestling all over the place, man. I know WrestleMap does a really great job of it. They're in that Discord channel as well. They're posting a lot of stuff from like Congo and stuff from Africa that you might not even know. There's this guy Buffalo that's wrestling in Africa right now that I think a lot of people really like. And it's a really cool channel. I think for people that, especially people that listen to this, that there's a lot of wrestling out there in the world, man. And we're seeing this where these guys are out here in Uganda wrestling in a field and just kind of doing what they see on television or what they see on whatever. I don't know. I don't even know how they watch. Maybe on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know.
On YouTube. I mean, they are watching on the internet.
Who knows? Yeah.
I don't know if there's TV deals for AEW or WWE because they were doing a lot of AEW moves and a lot of they're just ripping off the moves they see.
Right.
And I don't know if those companies have TV deals there, but so they must. But at minimum, I mean, everyone has the internet, so they're finding it. And they're doing it, and they're executing it pretty well.
They're pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty damn good. Yeah, these guys need to be, like you said, we got to start getting people out of the performance center and getting them into the Ugandan fields because these guys knew how to work a lot better than a lot of people that you see. But this is
better
fun.
than all the women in NXT that we talked about earlier. I mean, there's
better. Yeah, they might be as hurt after this, but for right now, they're they're definitely better. Yeah, so that was that. I wanted to talk about that match, and of course, we'll link it in the show notes because it might be a little difficult to find, but pretty good stuff there. You watched All Japan Pro Wrestling from on January 27th. I saw the main event here. What do you want to talk about from that show quickly, and then I can give my thoughts on the main event.
Oh, so the thing is, the back half of this All Japan show from the 27th is must watch. Okay, the entire back half of the show. The good thing is the first half of the show is entirely skippable. So with one of the worst matches you'll ever see in your life. But everything after the intermission is incredible. So the main event, we both saw it. Let me go through the other stuff and then we'll both talk about the main event. So there is a death match on this show with Atsushi Onita, Great Kojika. Yes, he's 81 years old. Raijin Yaguchi versus Mr. Pogo on Ryu. And Takumi Sakurai.
Oh, no, that sounds...
Rich, Great Kojika's 81 years old, and he takes exploding barbed wire bat bumps twice in this match, which is objectively cool. And then he gets choked with a chain. But the rest of this is so bad. Right now on Cage Match, it's at a 0.93. Oh. Now, I don't think it was that bad, to be honest. I'd probably give it a 2 or something
One of the
like
reviews says the match ended with an 81-year-old needing oxygen. Did they have to give oxygen down to the ring?
It's true.
Did they do that?
It's true.
Is that true?
True? Yeah. Yes, it's true. Yeah. It's is brutal. But so what All Japan did here, the same thing they did early last year. They bring in a lot of outsiders and freelancers and people from the past and kind of beef up the shows. They drew 1,600 fans for this Triple Crown match on top. But look at some of the names on the show. Hideki Suzuki, Minoru Suzuki, Hokuto Omoro, and Naruki Doi. Their group is still together, and they worked a 6-man. They brought in the 6 guys I just named in that goofy old man death match. They brought in Konosuke Takeshita to work a tag match against Yuma and Atsuki Aoyagi. And he brought in that young guy, Hideki Okatani, to team with Takeshita against the Aoyagis, and that match fucking rocked. I mean, the whole back half of this show is notebook. Okay, that tag match, the Aoyagis versus Okatani and Takeshita. Takeshita is just a different kind of talent. He just pops off the screen even when he's in there with another great wrestler like Yuma Aoyagi. And then Aoyagi gave this Okatani so much and so many great near falls. They worked so hard to get this kid over in front of these All Japan fans, and Takeshita was awesome, and Aoyagi was awesome, and it is a must-watch match. I know the Cage Match rating isn't all that great, but I'm telling you right now, trust my judgment on this. You have to watch this match. It's an incredible match. It may have been the best match on the show, and the rest of the back half of the show was great. Dan Tamura versus Koji Iwamoto for the junior title. Holy fucking shit! Again, easy notebook. I mean, over 4. Tamura was so good here and showed so much fire. Iwamoto hit a brainbuster on the apron on Tamura. You have to see this bump. He drops him directly on the top of his head. I am not a safety nerd, and I cringed, and I thought Tamura was dead. And then they just had a closing stretch for the ages. I thought Tamura took a big jump in this match in terms of crowd connection and fire that he showed in that match. So that, to me, is a must-watch match. Easy notebook. The Saitos versus Ryuki Honda and Yuma Anzai, again, 4-star match. Easy. The Saitos are for real, Rich. They've got something. You know, we've talked about it before. You don't expect anything coming into these matches, and then they go out there and deliver, you know, against an excellent team on the other side. You know, they've just learned how to ragdoll these guys. They throw Yuma Anzai around the ring at the end of this thing. I mean, you know, you can hear the excitement in my voice. The back half of this show, I'm telling you, it's must watch. And then you saw the main event. And you know, I'm not even sure that was the best match in the show, the main event. Like, that's how much I liked those other 3 bouts. Not the tag match as much as the other 2. Not the tag title match as much as the other 2. But, yeah, Nakajima, Ashino. And, you know, they went out there and look, this wasn't as good to me as the Miyahara matches. Let's not get crazy.
No. Oh, no.
But this was still an excellent match and exactly what you wanted out of it. And I would probably go 4 and a quarter, maybe 4 and a quarter plus, somewhere in that range for this. And Nakajima retains. And right now, he might be my favorite champion in wrestling. I can't think of he's my favorite champion in wrestling. And you know, he just goes out there every time and delivers a kick-ass match, and he still feels special in this environment. And anyway, this is the one match you saw, so go ahead and talk about it.
No, I really enjoyed this match, and it took a little while to get going, and that's, you know, and that's fine. You know, it took a little bit to kind of get it's 19 minutes, so it's not a super long match. But yeah, the first 10 minutes or so was very kind of careful and crafted or whatever. It wasn't too, you know, wild or anything. But I'll say those last 9 minutes, man, they really got a pretty good story across here with Ashino just not going down. Nakajima just continuing to hit him and kick him and just he wouldn't go down. Then Nakajima takes it another level and just punches the fucking guy, just knocks him out. Down on the ground, down on the mat. He's laid out, tells the referee he's done, count him out, he's over. Referee doesn't do it. So Nakajima, an asshole, picks Ashino up, kicks him, and then goes, all right, now he's down, then goes for the pinfall, and Ashino kicks out. And then Nakajima's like, okay, motherfucker, I'll do it again. So he does a couple more moves to him. Ashino kicks out. And he keeps kicking out, and he keeps kicking out, and he keeps kicking out. And then eventually Nakajima just goes, okay. And for people that do not know, Ashino just missed a long amount of time for, what was it, a broken wrist, I think he had?
Something with the arm.
Yeah, broken wrist, broken forearm, something like that. So his arm's in a cast or whatever. So Nakajima goes, all right, motherfucker. And then just puts a cross arm breaker on the guy's formerly broken arm that he's still got taped up or whatever. Yeah. And Ashino won't tap out. And then he just keeps going, all right. And then he just rears back and just keeps rearing back until finally Ashino says, yeah, I've had enough and it's over. But yeah, just Nakajima, man, you're right. He's just the best fucking asshole heel in the world right now.
Best champion in wrestling right now.
Yeah. And no doubt.
This match doesn't overstay its welcome. I was actually a little surprised how short it was. I was like, wow, that, you know. And then Rai Saito's the next contender.
I was floored when they went, oh, and I'm like, uh-oh, who's coming out? And I'm like, Rai Saito, what?
Fuck yeah, man. That's a big spot.
That's a huge spot.
Can Nakajima get a great match out of him in a single spot? We'll see. I'm into it. Now, we'll say one more thing about Yuma Aoyagi. Okay, I know we got a couple more matches to get to. His Triple Crown run was such a success that it truly elevated him. It worked because when you go back and watch this match, you'll see how much Okatani gets from nearly beating him, where Aoyagi is now seen on a different plane than he was before that title reign. That was truly him becoming a made guy. Whereas other times guys might win the GHC title or the Triple Crown title in the modern era of wrestling, and it ends up not meaning much for them.
Yeah.
Jake Lee's a perfect example. Does anyone see Jake Lee as anything more than he was before he won those titles? No. He means exactly what he meant before he won the Triple Crown and the GHC. Nothing. But Aoyagi was truly elevated because of how great his reign was and how great that he is. It was the right time, right place, right title reign, and he delivered.
Yeah.
And, and it does so much for this. I was so impressed with what everybody in that match was doing for Okatani to try to get him over. And then, by the way, Aoyagi and Miyahara challenged the Saitos as well after the tag title match.
All right.
So All Japan, listen, they're on the same roll they were on. This was a great start. Now, the first half of this show stunk. Suji Ishikawa had his final match. It was labeled as the final match for Suji Ishikawa and Black Menso Ray. I wasn't aware that Black Menso Ray was leaving. Maybe I missed that or it slipped through the cracks.
Or we just didn't care. Yeah, it's possible we just didn't care.
But they went to a time limit draw with Rena Yabe and Ryu Inoue. And, they did their goodbye or whatever. Black Menso Ray, I mean, undercard guy, comedy guy. Cha, 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 cha. I'll miss the song, okay? I thought he was a snake until Alan 4L ruined it for me and revealed that he's supposed to be a tea kettle. Did you know that?
Yeah, because Alan ruined it for me. Yeah, I think at one point we said something, and he was like, lads, just to let you know, he's supposed to be a tea kettle. And I was like, man.
Yeah. I thought with the arm gestures and the music and Menso Ray, I thought he was supposed to be like a snake or a fucking stingray or something. This guy's a fucking tea kettle. His gimmick is a tea kettle, Rich. But anyway, we see where they pop up. That was their final match. And I know they built to I think they're doing Hideki Suzuki versus Suwama on one of the shows coming up based on that 6-man. And, they've been doing the deal where they tag, but they don't get along. But no, the back half of the show is fucking phenomenal. I recommend it to everybody who has the All Japan TV or who sails the high seas. So that was the All Japan show, and they're still hot.
Good enough. Yeah, good. I'll watch the rest of that show. I only had time for the main event, but I'll make sure to watch the rest. Or the last the after intermission. I have no time for that. Is it even perversely worth watching that horrible match?
Yes.
Okay. It is. It's fun bad at least.
It's something you should probably see.
Okay.
It's
all right.
It's notably bad.
That's you got to watch notably bad matches. The boring bad.
It's not bad where you're sitting there like, this is fucking. It's like. It's on Ryu, like the puff of smoke comes off.
I love me some on Ryu, so I'm in.
When's the last time you watched Mr. Pogo? I mean, you got to give it a go.
Yeah, right.
Kojika's 81, Rich.
I love the idea that he needed oxygen after the
barbed wire bat.
Right.
It's technically a 3 concurrent blast bats death match, is what it's called.
Okay.
So they slap the alarm, and then it goes, Then they hit each other with the barbed wire bat, and it blows up on Kojika's back. He's like, he takes bumps.
It's sad.
Dude, you're 81.
Yeah, please stop. Don't have to do this.
It almost literally was a death match.
All right, so I watched.
What else we got?
I watched 3 indie matches, so I'm gonna talk about these real quickly here as we're running out of time. But I said I watched matches from Uganda. We talked about that one. France, England, and St. Louis, Missouri. So I'll start with England. North Wrestling. I don't know if you're aware of North Wrestling. They run in, I believe it is Newcastle. They run, but there is a match, Leon Slater versus Mike Bailey from their show on the 5th, January 5th. That this match is available for free on YouTube. It's called Match of the Year 2024, Leon Slater versus Mike Bailey. So a little presumptuous there. 5 days into the year. But I will say, Joe, I know your likes, and I know the things that you will love this match. You'll absolutely love this match, because what's cool about this match is you like Leon Slater. We've talked about Leon Slater a lot. If you're a Rev Pro watcher, you know Leon Slater. Most people listening to this are well aware of Leon Slater. Mike Bailey, you all know Mike Bailey. This match has worked in a very cool way where Mike Bailey's like an asshole veteran who's kind of a dick to Leon Slater. You know what I mean? He comes in and they have a little bit of respect at the beginning, but then Mike Bailey's, it's not necessarily the like, I'm not taking you serious thing. It's the I'm taking you serious, but I'm the veteran and you're still the young boy, kind of that sort of style where Bailey's being a little more snug on some stuff. It's a little more snug on the strikes, a little bit more snug on the kicks, a little bit more snug when he's going for a pinfall. And it all leads to a really, 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 really good back and forth between the two. Leon Slater does get the win over Mike Bailey. And that, it's just, it's because he's the champion, by the way. If you did not know, he's the North title champion. I wasn't aware of North before this, but they had really good production values. It looked like a really fun show. The crowd was hot. The announcing was pretty decent. And Leon Slater, Mike Bailey, about 23 minutes and 14 seconds. Well worth going out and checking. Like I said, it's free on YouTube, so you don't have to pay anything for it. I don't know about the other shows. I'm not sure how many of their other shows are available or whatnot, but that's the first I've actually ever heard of North Wrestling. But Leon Slater, Mike Bailey from North Wrestling on January 5th, 2024. Well worth your time. Favorite of the matches that I watched out of the whole bunch today. But I'm a big Leon Slater guy. I'm maybe a little bit more biased than other people, but I thought this was very well worked, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't have time to watch it. I only watched one of these two. I watched a Uganda match and I watched one other, and because I was, I had to squeeze them in time wise, and this match was like over a half hour. So
yeah. It's a little, and there's a lot of before and after post match stuff. So it actually, you might click the video and think, oh my god, this is gonna be a lot longer. It goes a little quicker than you think. It's only about 20 minutes or so the match, but not well worth your time. All right, which match did you watch?
I watched the dog collar match with Mad Dog Connolly and Manders.
Yes.
And I thought that fucking ruled. I loved that fucking match. That is easy notebook and one of the best matches I watched this week. I mean, the pacing that they had with that dog collar match, and this is only like a 12-minute match, okay? And they went fucking hard. With that fucking chain, perfect guys for it. This was the best Manders match I've ever seen because I've never been all that impressed with him. I think he's okay, but he always leaves me a little empty. Not in this match. And this Connolly is perfect for the dog collar gimmick. I knew nothing of their feud coming in, so I'm parachuting in. St. Louis Anarchy. Nice little promotion whenever I get a chance to watch. I'm hearing that, the guy like Wyatt.
Yeah, Jeremy
Wyatt had a great match on that show, too, which I'm going to have to track down. I think it's on IWTV.
It's on IWTV, so, yeah. He's in the main event against Derek Neal. I did not get a chance to watch that match yet.
I love watching that guy. When he's in a big spot, I go out of my way to watch Jeremy Wyatt. He rules. He's one of those classic local wrestlers who just fucking rules, and nobody knows about him outside his little region. Normal guy with a normal job because he's fucking smart. And in a big spot, the guy's great. He's always great. Guy's just a great pro wrestler. So I'm going to make sure I watch that. So, anyway, this dog collar match, I thought the pacing was out of this fucking world. I mean, they just never stopped for the entirety of this match. And they didn't overstay their welcome. Right around when you wanted it to end, it ended. And he hung him over the ropes and he choked him. And Manders fought. And then finally he had the tap. But there was brutality. There was the spot where, he did the Walter spot where he punches the turnbuckle, but with the chain wrapped around his fist. They were whipping each other with that fucking chain like they were Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks.
Yeah, and this is like chain link chain. Like, this is like dog. Yeah, this is a
heavy fucking chain.
Yeah.
Nikita Koloff fucking chain. Yeah,
right.
This was a chain, okay? With dog collars attached on the end. I don't know. I thought this match was great. I was fired up watching this, and this is the kind of match where come match of the year season, I think certain pockets of fans, okay, are going to ensure that this fucking thing, I don't know how high it can get, but people being in January will hurt it, okay? If it happens in October, I think it does better, okay? But I still think this fucker's going to pop up. I don't know how high. I'm not saying it's going to threaten the fucking top 25, but this was so good, and I can really see a certain kind of fan who likes a certain kind of match really digging this thing.
Yeah, and like you said, the spots they did with the dog collars too. There was a lot of just like in ring, just brutal fighting back and forth and brawling and all that sort of stuff. And then what took it up another notch a lot of times was they would throw each other over the ropes and hang each other a bunch of times. They were doing spots on the outside with the dog collar, and you're like, holy shit. Like, luckily, St. Louis uses a pretty low ring. Like, it's not a very high ring, so it's not like a very far drop from the ring to the floor. But even then, it was like, shit, that guy's got a dog collar around his neck while he's doing that spot. And then, like you said, the end is just Connolly just hanging Manders, just hanging him out, and Manders trying the best he can to hang on. He just can't do it. He has to tap out. So, I liked it a lot. Yeah, it sounds like you liked it a little bit more than me, but I'm not. I still liked it, and it's still well worth everyone's time. And because it's been getting a little bit of buzz, St. Louis Anarchy uploaded it for free on their YouTube channel as well, so you can find it for free on their YouTube, which is smart. A very, very smart thing for them to do. It's normally on IWTV, but that match is good enough that it's worth it. And I guess there's. And again, I came in kind of cold too, but there's a couple of other Manders and Conley matches, and they said that they're going to try to make a YouTube video that's just all the matches all together, just all three of them back to back to back to back. So, which is smart.
Right, well, so if you want to catch up on the feud, as noted in the chat, Mr. Pogo is dead.
Uh-oh.
But, no. This is Shadow WX doing the Mr. Pogo gimmick as he has been doing. Okay, so he has brought Mr. Pogo back to life with the Mr. Pogo gimmick. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it, chat. Okay? Yeah. So Mr. Pogo lives.
Trying to Pogo-splain you. Nobody Pogo-splains.
Yeah, don't Pogo-splain me. Yeah, exactly. Okay? So, the old Shadow kicking it back to the original Fire Pro days with Shadow WX and Anryu. Okay?
Shadow WX, yeah. What? Man.
Yeah.
What an era. All right, so the final match I watched was from France. This was January 6th, 2024, and this one got a little bit of buzz because this, I believe, was this Ali's first non-WWE after this most recent... Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Look it up.
This is his first one. Yeah, because his last he worked NXT in September of 2023, and this was his first match outside of WWE after this most recent run. So this is in a company called APC Catch, if you look for them on YouTube. Now, my French is awful, so I'm just going to call this guy White Eagle. That's his name. It's in French. Aigle Blanc, I guess. I don't know how the hell to pronounce it, but White Eagle. Let's go call him White Eagle, Joe, so I don't have to butcher the French language like we butcher all, or I butcher all languages. We butcher the English language. I butcher the Spanish a lot more than you do, and I don't know any French. I don't know about you. You know any French?
I don't know. I don't butcher anything.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. My pronunciation.
You are well known across the wrestling world for your good pronunciation and proper pronunciation of professional wrestling names. But so I'm just going to call this man White Eagle to make it a lot easier for everybody. But it's White Eagle and Mustafa Ali. And this is from their 20th anniversary show, APC's 20th anniversary show. It's got really good production values. This one is also available for free on YouTube if you want to check this out. So essentially, I just asked people, hey, what are some good indie matches that I should watch? And I watched this one, and it was okay. I didn't love it. And I've kind of heard that a lot of people saying that about Ali so far, that they haven't really loved a lot of what he's done on the indies so far. He's good. Like, there's clearly a level that he and this is Ali who was on the indies for a decade before he went to WWE. So we all know what he's capable of, but I think people were kind of expecting him to be like right out of the gates having these incredible match of the year level matches. And I don't know if that's a good expectation for Ali. I don't think that's ever really been Ali, and the idea that he was just going to drop in and do that is I don't know. I never expected that. I kind of expected what we're seeing here, where he's having really good, solid matches, but now he's kind of the main event guy, the big dude coming in and wrestling these small guys. And that's exactly how he worked this match. Now, I don't know if he went into the match with this idea that I'm going to work the way this style, because you have this White Eagle guy who is obviously a local. He's there. The fans love him. And what they do, though, is when Ali comes out, they mention from WWE, and the crowd boos him. And I'm guessing that was intentional, because the way that they worked the match was that Ali was like, get a load of this guy. I'm a big leaguer, and here's some indie guy. Sort of, it was worked in that sort of style, where he came across like, I'm coming into the indies from WWE, so get on my level type stuff. And it's one of those classic matches where, the White Eagle guy just keeps, staying alive and staying alive and staying alive. And Ali's just kind of, okay, all right. And eventually realizes, crap, my hubris is maybe going to get the best of me here. I better figure out how to beat this guy. He eventually does beat him and does win. But they do, the ending's kind of weird. Like the White Eagle dude does a 450 from the top, and Ali just no sells it and puts it right into like some sort of submission maneuver or whatever. And that's it for Blanc. So I didn't love that, but I don't know. The match is fine. Like, it's not. I'm not telling anybody to go watch it because you're going to see like one of these incredible matches. But if you want to see what Ali looks like outside of the WWE realm, and this is his first match outside of WWE, or if you want to see what this APC is all about, or what wrestling in France looks like, this is it's not a bad match to check out. It is free on YouTube, like I said, January 6th. From APC Catch, and you just go to their YouTube channel, you can find it pretty easily there. But I don't know. Like, I wonder if Ali thought that he was going to get that reaction, and that's why he decided to work the match that style, or if like he came out and they booed, and he was like, all right, now I know what I'm going to do here, and we're going to work it this way. I'd imagine he came in with a plan, but I don't know. It's I was kind of surprised at first that the fans did kind of boo the idea that like, here's a guy from WWE, and I don't know whether APC knew that was going to get that reaction, or if they thought people were going to say, "Oh my God, wow, look at that, a star." So I don't know, but it was a fun match, but not a great match.
I didn't hear great reviews of it either initially, so you're kind of it's kind of the same lukewarm review I've been hearing. But I don't know. We'll see how he does. I think he has a chance to be the guy at WrestleMania weekend if he gets enough bookings.
He does.
We'll
he does. Yeah. So Ali, I know he faced Gringo Loco in GCW. I heard that one was okay. That was in Chicago. I did not go to that show though, but I heard that was okay. Then he did a 3-way with Gringo Loco and Jack Cartwheel at Demand Lucha. He did a C4 in Ottawa with Vaughn Vertigo. And then 2 matches with Leon Slater. I'd actually like to see those. NSPW in Quebec City with Leon Slater, and then Progress with Leon Slater. So I don't know if anybody's seen those, but let me know what those are, because I'd like to check those out if possible, to see if how Ali's been doing. But you're right, he could own that WrestleMania weekend if he wants to.
I think we're done.
That is it. We have covered all the topics we have on our sheet. So again, that is yet more content from us. We go into the archives, go back to last week's Flagship, go and subscribe to flagshippatreon.com. You're going to get a ton of audio from us over the last 2 weeks. Flagshippatreon.com. $5 tier gets you all of our bonus audio. $10 tier gets you our written stuff, our live shows, as well as all the bonus audio as well. So go if you can get the $10. That unlocks everything. $5 unlocks just the bonus audio. VoicesOfWrestling.com, by the way, as well. Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network for previews and reviews of all of these major shows. And that is it for us. VoicesOfWrestling.com/Discord as well if you want to join the conversation on Discord. But that is Joe. I am Rich, and we will talk to you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.